In episode number 308 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we covered the bombs that were dropped by Nintendo for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate live stream.
We also have Bautista talking about James Gunn's firing from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
And how he's being a giant fucking baby.
The biggest baby.
We also get confirmation that Batfleck is returning for the live-action The Batman film.
We also have another interview for this week. It is with Batman TMNT's Adventures Jon Sommariva.
All of this and so much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am Darth Vader-Daniel.
And I am Emperor Kelli.
The Emperor, not the Empress.
Correct, the Emperor of all things.
Got to get that out of the way for anyone that is new to the podcast. The way we format the show is first we go over some news. We head into the Brocat block, which is basically what's happening with Kelli and I know a lot of Brocat members like to know what's going on with us on the week. We then go on to thank our Patreon backers, which are the ones who make the show possible. We then do a comic book review, movie review, or an interview, which today we've got a movie review and a comic industry interview again. I know in general over the last year we've been a little bit lighter on video game news, but there's been some great stuff this week. You know how we only play maybe 1 or 2 video games throughout the last year? It just so happens that the 2 that I play happen to had some shit ton of news this week. And the big one this week is with Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yes!
Along with classic costumes for Vegeta and Goku, Frieza's brother Cooler is going to be the next DLC character joining Dragon Ball FighterZ.
You know what I think about Cooler in Dragon Ball Z Fighter?
Who cares? Hold on, you got classic Vegeta in here, though.
Okay, did I say I didn't care about classic Vegeta? I don't care about...
It's a part of Dragon Ball FighterZ.
I don't care. I said Cooler in Dragon Ball
FighterZ.
I
thought you said and the Dragon Ball FighterZ.
No, I don't care about Cooler. I care about all things DBZ because they involve Vegeta, and Vegeta is one of the coolest people ever. And so I'm happy that they have his old costume. You better pick that one all the time so he can be like real short and like kind of look like a troll with his brown hair, red hair, whatever he had.
That's the part they fucked up on because they have him in his classic outfit. Even the animations are exactly like those old episodes where he's got kind of the more beady looking eyes, more angry looking the vein constantly.
Yeah.
But he does have the black hair. And I'm like, no. If you're going to do classic Vegeta, you got to do like his old hair dye or whatever the hell was going on with that.
Does he look like a creepy ass troll?
He's still kind of short, but he's always been short. It's just the hair that kind of makes him look...
he's always been short, but like he was super troll looking. Like if you look at him now, and then they did a Snape on him and just made him like exceedingly handsome. Like he went from really gross, and now you're like, whoa, it's Vegeta.
Akira Toriyama's probably like, I never plan on using this fucker again. Why do people like him? He still doesn't understand why people like him.
Because he has the best character development in that whole damn show.
And that's the only reason he does is because he's like, right, I guess we got to develop him. And they did. And as a product of it, happens to be a lot of people's favorites.
But they developed him better than anybody in that show.
Many will argue Piccolo's also
not
very
Piccolo.
good.
I mean, Piccolo's a great character, but he doesn't have the... Vegeta used to kill people for fun. He used to annihilate planets for fun. And now if you hold his baby wrong, he's like, whoa, this is how you hold a baby. And I'm just like, Dad Vegeta. Oh my God.
Dad Vegeta?
You've never heard of Dad Vegeta? That's great. That's women's favorite things is Dad Vegeta when he wears like his little dad pants and his button-up shirt. Like he's holding a baby.
Should that be a statue? An action figure?
Yes, can that be a pop?
A DLC?
Is Dad Vegeta like a pop?
Not yet.
It needs to be.
Funko's listening and they're like, write that down.
Funko's tapped into all the phones everywhere waiting for new ideas.
No release date has been given for this DLC, but people speculate it'll be by the end of September because that's when the Nintendo Switch version is going to release.
Oh, that makes sense. Are you going to get any of these DLC? Is it free DLC?
Yes and no. Like, I'm already getting it because I have the season pass.
Oh, okay.
So I recently got the chance to go back on Dragon Ball FighterZ, and that was actually the live stream that I did with Lazy Gaming Guys that they invited me on. And that's when I went ahead and downloaded all of the DLC characters. It's obnoxious because it's not like previous DLC like Mass Effect or Call of Duty where it'll automatically download them for you. I actually had the characters on the select screen. I was like, why can't I fucking select them? Do I have to beat a certain mode to choose them, even in multiplayer? This is fucking weird. So I had to go online and I find that no one has the answer because no one could tweet out, hey, so all you have to do is download them from the PlayStation Store, which I had to actually do. I had to go in the PlayStation Store, find the DLC, which wasn't even selective. It was weird. I had to like really dig into the DLC for the game just to find the downloads for each of the characters.
So after you found this DLC, did you then tweet it out to help other people?
Fuck no. If I had to struggle, everyone else has to fucking
so
struggle.
do they. The Emperor commands that you do this for the goodness of her followers.
Well, if your followers have Dragon Ball FighterZ and they're more savvy on video games, which most likely they are, then fine. Let me know and I will fucking tell you how. You go into DLC, if they're listening, they know. You go into DLC and that's why you listen to the show. You learn shit. And then you download each fucking character, and that's what I had to do. So Cooler, I'm pretty happy with it. The movie, it was one of the first Dragon Ball movies I ever saw.
Yeah?
And it had the super Americanized, like, rock and roll original soundtrack that they made for it.
Frieza.
And it was really kind of bizarre because even some of the songs, I'm like, this is kind of mainstream, though. Like, this isn't even just for the anime. So it was a little bit bizarre because I had heard these songs before.
Was Evanescence in there? Like, wake me up inside.
Might as well have been.
Because that would have been perfect.
It was a pretty generic movie, but Cooler being like that, you know, my brother's a spoiled brat. He doesn't understand. You need to rule and be cold and etc. So he was a kind of a cool character. He's got a great design. I think he'll be fun to play as in Dragon Ball FighterZ, especially since he's bulkier and he's not just a Frieza clone.
Are you going to play with either of the original costumes for Vegeta or Goku?
Yeah, I mean, I paid for him. I got to try him out.
Who do you still like more, Vegeta or Goku?
I think Goku, like if you were to ask me who wins in a fight between Goku and like any of the Dragon Ball characters aside from Mr. Popo, it is Goku. But
I'm not
who do I like
asking
more?
that.
Who do I like more? It's Vegeta.
Is it because I've instructed you on all the Vegeta things and you now understand what a fantastic character he is?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Good. That makes me feel good inside. Because I have these debates all the time and I'm trying to turn people to the dark side. Yes, finally. My cold makes my Emperor voice perfect this week.
It does. You're going to get several chances to use it on today's episode, by the way.
Can I talk to you in everyday life like this? Like,
please don't.
Hey, Kelly, did you pick up the mail? Yes.
Indeed.
Indeed, I did. It's been taken care of.
There's constantly a shadow over your eyes.
Red lightning out of my fingers or something. I'm sorry, continue.
Moving on over to the Nintendo side, through a live stream presentation, Nintendo has announced one of many characters that are joining the roster for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Castlevania's Simon Belmont will be playable as a character.
Cool. Do you like Simon Belmont?
I never grew up with an NES, so I never had Castlevania, but it is has been one of the most requested characters for Smash Brothers fans for many, many years.
Why?
Because they grew up on Castlevania. Because
cool
it is
looking?
Not
he
really.
Handsome?
It's a nostalgia thing. That's really what it is.
So he's not handsome.
Do you find He-Man handsome?
Who cares? No, He-Man's definitely gay.
Well, then
For
Simon
Skeletor.
Belmont's not handsome for you.
All right.
But they did put in. Well, we'll get there. But how about this one? Maybe he's more handsome. Donkey Kong's King K. Rool.
He is also definitely gay.
Why is that?
Did you not see the picture of him? Like,
Grocery shopping.
Yes.
He's got a giant belly. He blocks with that shit. It's amazing.
Okay.
He's going to also join the roster after many years of fans asking for him.
Why?
Because there aren't enough Donkey Kong characters. Like
Who cares? care.
Here's the thing. They added the villain for Mario Brothers, which was Bowser. They added Ganondorf, the villain for Legend of Zelda.
Whoa.
They added Wolf, who is a villain in Star Fox.
Arguably, all those games are more popular than Donkey Kong, but please continue.
Star Fox is not.
Yeah.
I will say that now for
but
sure.
we like it better.
Correct.
So they had to add him.
But Donkey Kong, as far as I'm concerned, only has Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. They haven't even put in Dixie. Or the villain, which now the villain is.
Listen, I wasn't a Donkey Kong fan, but that's great for Donkey Kong fans. I'm so excited that they get King Crocodile.
That's not his name, but close enough.
King, what was that one from Crocodile from Pokemon? What was his name?
Crocodile. Oh, Crocorock, yeah.
Crocorock. King Crocorock with his sunglasses, ready to get those Donkey Kongs.
I'm really happy about King K. Rool. Like, the more Donkey Kong characters we get, and for some reason I feel like this won't be the only one. Maybe they will throw in Dixie as a palette swap for Diddy Kong.
They should throw in the barrel as its own character.
That's a good idea, actually. The fucking barrels.
Who's gonna play as a fucking barrel?
I would play as the barrel.
I know you would. The barrel wouldn't do anything but sit there.
You can kind of play as a box already with Snake.
Really?
Yeah, one of his moves is he hides in a little box, and that's like his taunt.
Why can't he hide in a boot?
Oh, a boat?
A boot.
Oh, Snake in your boots. Too much Disney in your mind. I'm trying to knock out some Disney in my mind.
Did you know, can I talk about a missed opportunity from Disney real quick, going down my rabbit trail, because we're talking about snakes and boots, right? So they have, over in Disneyland, a boot cup, and they put a shake in it. What would you call that?
A snake shake?
There's a shake in my boot. Oh my God, brilliant, right? They didn't call it that. They called it some other bullshit. And I was like, I'm done with you all. This was the perfect opportunity to go, there's a shake in my boot.
Again, Disney's tapping in, and they're now going to... Don't be surprised if in the next coming months they're going to change the fucking name to
That's fine. They need to, because it's fucking brilliant. I said that out loud, and then I cracked myself the fuck up because I was so funny. And then it was just called like a boot shake or something like that. And I was like...
The boots shake.
All right.
Someone made that decision.
Or like, they call it like boot beer or something like that instead of root
boot
beer.
Wow.
I was like, who do you guys have employed over there? You need to call me. Fucking Pixar Fest, not even calling it a shake in my boot. Shit.
Be chance.
Anyway, continue. More things.
No, talk about the Echo Fighters.
So there are also for Super Smash Brothers.
This is where it should interest you.
Because
it's one of your favorite video game characters joining.
Oh, it is. Yes. Okay. So new Echo Fighters are also revealed. Echo Fighters are essentially palette swaps of existing characters, complete with new, unique voice acting and adjustments to their attack power and speed.
Previously, they were named as clones by the fans. Like, that's a clone of Captain Falcon, for example, Ganondorf. Now they've pretty much owned up and said, all right, they're called Echo Fighters. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do more of them. And we're like, okay, great. Like, we did not mind.
I
never minded
like,
the clones.
Nom, 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 eating that shit up like Saturday morning cereal. Nom, nom, nom.
Because the Echo Fighters helped me out. Before I got Greninja in the last one, I got Wolf. And after they completely made Fox a beat chant, and made him as light as a feather, and you can knock him out of any fucking stage after Melee. Then I was like, I just need a heavier version of him. And then they gave me Wolf, and they're like, here you go. He's strong, but he's slow as fuck, and he's heavy. I'm like, perfect. like my speed was one of the best things, because I would kind of use my speed to confuse my opponents, go around, and do all of that shit. And that's why Fox was ridiculous in Melee. But instead, I'm like, you know what? I'm older. My reflexes aren't as good. I'm like Rocky in Rocky 6. You know, it was perfect.
Right.
So now the Echo Fighters I'm all for. Richter Belmont is the new one that they announced with this live stream, and that is a clone or an Echo Fighter of Simon Belmont, who they just announced from Castlevania.
Who's Richter?
He is from Symphony of the Night, which was a DS game or Game Boy Advance game, one of the two, but an exclusive to the Nintendo consoles.
No, okay. Next on the list, one of my favorite characters is Chrom from Fire Emblem Awakening. Chrom, aka my husband in Fire Emblem Awakening.
When they last did the Smash Brothers for the Wii U, I remember we were watching the video of Fire Emblem characters. I think it was Roy and Marth had both joined it, and they were announcing it. And it was when, like, someone would beat the shit out of Chrom, and he was, like, knocked out. And then one of the characters, it might have been Lucina?
Yep.
as she saves him, and then it's like, bum, bum, they do the whole video showing off her movesets, and then Crom says, maybe next time, and he gets knocked out, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, and it fades to black, and then it says, no, it's this time, but then he was an assist trophy, not an actual character. Because of that, fans were like, no, you motherfuckers, make him a fucking character, you fucking assholes.
We didn't even fucking care until he said maybe next time.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, and he's an assist trophy. Like, if they hadn't done that shit, if he was just like, maybe next time, we'd have been like, Crom. But now we care.
But now he's an Echo fighter. He is actually a fighter, and that was something Sakurai also said. He was like, yeah, that's also a very requested character. It's like, that's because of you guys, as you fucking pointed out.
Well, it's also because Crom's, like, really fucking cool.
He's one of the coolest characters. Like, I know your Lysander in the last Smash Bros. Or Fire Emblem that you played as? Yes. How come he's not as good as Crom?
Because Crom was sweet, and he cared about me, and he saved my life twice. And he gave me 2 beautiful children. Lysander was my brother until we fell in love, and then we realized that
adopted
we were
brother,
related.
just so everyone knows.
No, but that's what I thought. And, like, the whole time, because I didn't realize he was someone that you could fall in love with in the game. Because when I first saw it, I'm like, yeah, he's the one. And then he's like, I'm really your brother. And I was like, oh, this is weird. And then, like, we kept getting closer and closer. I'm like, this is really weird. And then he's like, I'm really your adopted brother. And I'm like, oh, it's okay now.
I like how you just believe him.
Right? You know, whatever. But he wasn't as nice as Crom. Crom was always uplifting. I became a princess. I guess I became a princess in the other one too. But I became a princess with Crom.
Plus, the story was way better in Awakening.
So
like, at one point, you fucking murder him.
Yeah, and then my heart was like, no, because he was my husband, right?
Because you choose no, right? And it's like, no, you still fucking kill him.
Stab him. But then that game ends, and we've talked about it before, where you open your eyes and you're back at the beginning, and you're like, oh my god, why am I at the beginning? And then he's like, I found you again. And I'm just like, my husband. And so then I tried to play it a second time where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna marry somebody different, and he married some faceless bitch, and I was like, no. And like, I stopped. And I had to go back and play again.
What do you mean faceless bitch?
Because when he married, when you don't pair him with anybody, because I wasn't going to pair him with anybody, but I didn't realize he still got married. So he gets married and you just see brown hair and no face. Like,
that's fucking weird.
You don't know.
Why would the game do that?
I don't know, but then I was
that is a faceless bitch.
I was like, no, I can't do this. So I had to restart it so that I could marry Crom again. I played that game like 3 times, and I've always ended up with Crom. He's perfect.
There should be romancing in Smash Brothers now because Crom is in there. Well, but only Crom is the romance.
Did I ever tell you, like, what was the turning point in our romance?
When he walks in on you in the shower?
Well, like, I walked in on him, and then he walked in on me, and then he goes, well, we both seen each other naked, and then, like, you get married.
That's how it was back then.
I guess. It was fucking hilarious. These are great games, guys. Go play the Fire Emblem games.
They are amazing, and I'm glad Crom is in there. I will definitely I play as all the characters eventually in Smash, and I'm just really glad that they brought back Crom in this one.
Who is he an echo of? Marth? Probably
Marth, Roy, maybe Ike. I didn't pay close enough attention, but he's not a heavy character, so I wouldn't say Ike. I would probably say Marth.
Okay.
The other Echo character is Dark Samus from Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. That's actually my favorite Metroid Prime game, and the only one I actually completed. Dark Samus, yeah, there's not much character development to it, but it is a really cool design, and the character swaps that they did for her blast, for example, are those that you see in the Wii game from many years ago. So that just kind of brought me back to the first Metroid, or to the third Metroid Prime game, where I was like, oh yeah, really, that's why I'm excited for the next one, because I really enjoyed Corruption. So that was a really nice character swap, I think, for Samus.
In addition to all this, stages can also now morph and transform between other stages regardless of platform differences. So you really want to shake things up, it's probably a mode you can turn on and off, I'm sure. But if you're playing with all your level 9 buddies and you're like, no, let's make things interesting.
That's exactly what it's like. Like my brother and I, when we played Melee.
Your level 9 buddies.
He was my level 9 buddy. And the only pairings that, because there was always 2-on-2. Back then it was only 4 total in Smash Brothers.
Wow.
And now it's like 8 or something ridiculous. But back then it was like, all right, so Roger and I would sit down. He'd be Falco and I'd be Fox. So on top of that, like we were both Star Fox characters. And we always did like highest difficulty on every computer character and we would always win. Except when it was Mario and Luigi, which also is like a type of same world pairing type of thing. And it's because Mario, who actually won the tournament in Smash Brothers Ultimate over at E3, and I listened to the podcast, that's when you were like, fucking nerd, remember we were in the car?
Way to throw me out in front of, like, we're talking about these things, and now people are like, oh, Kelly.
You were joking, though, but it was funny.
Because we were driving someplace, and they're just talking. And
we were talking about the hit boxes and the delay.
Bunch
and
of stuff, yeah. And then Daniel goes, Kelly, what do you think about that? And I really wasn't paying attention.
No, I was like, what's he talking about? And you're like, nerd things.
I'm sure that there is a very deep science to all of this, and I appreciate anybody who studies it and understands it, because it takes a lot to know these things.
But fucking nerd.
Now, Luigi and Mario.
He was saying that Mario is actually deceptively one of the best characters in the game and not one that many people use in the meta. So he ended up picking that character in the final match against his final opponent. And it was because he hadn't seen, I think it was Ridley. It was one of the newer characters. He's like, all right, I'm going to go with Mario because he is overall really well balanced. So because of that, anytime we played Mario and Luigi, it would be a tougher match because he's got a medium weight, he's got a medium speed, he's got a medium attack. It's not easy to knock him out. It's not easy to really maneuver around him. Like, it really is like the most balanced character. And it makes sense because it is fucking Mario. So half the time we would end up losing to Mario and Luigi. And because of that, we would have to win twice against him just to like reaffirm, I guess, our fucking nonsense.
No, we're really the best.
No, we really are good at this.
We're really level 9 players.
So I think the stages transforming, it would be like something that he and I hope we have time to play. I want to play with Roger Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Where we can choose, like, all right, and it was always Final Destination, because, again, Fox and Falco. We would probably do Final Destination and Battlefield. Those were our two favorite stages. So that's a nice little, and it's not the first time that we've seen stages morph. The Fire Emblem stage in the Wii version also kind of changed in the middle of it, but in this case, you can choose any fucking stage in the game.
We should have a Smash Brothers party.
That'd be fun.
Just have one. Invite people over just before 9 p.m.
Except your ex-coworkers who are really, really, really fucking good at this game, and I kept losing to. So yeah, don't invite them.
Then who are we gonna invite?
Everyone else that I have won against.
Okay, all right. Don't take a challenge, Daniel. That's fine. Isn't that what games are about?
No, it's about having fun.
Which means me winning.
Nintendo is also offering a limited edition of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it is complete with the game, a GameCube controller, and a GameCube adapter, so it is made for the Melee players, for really the true Smash Bros. Players. If you're going to play this, you're going to play this fucking right. That's right. You're going to do this right.
Is that the version that you'll be getting?
Absolutely. As soon as and I tried to pre-order it today and it wasn't available, and I'm not going to get it off of fucking Amazon, so.
Of course.
I'll just check Best Buy. I don't know, in a week it'll be up.
Every day. So moving on into some television news, the Walt Disney Company is trying to buy back the TV rights for its Star Wars film franchise to use in the next year's Disney streaming service.
And guess who fucking owns the TV rights?
It?
The plot gets thicker here, Brokettes. It's like a fucking melodrama. Tune in next week, and we'll let you know.
To As We Sell Rights.
And welcome back to As We Sell Rights.
You know, it's going to take us 6 months to find out who owns those rights, if this was a soap opera.
And if it were Dragon Ball Z, it'd take about a year and a half.
You're right. Wait, never mind. I thought you said half a year, and I'm like, that's the same shit, but a year and a half. I'm sorry.
Warner Brothers purchased an 8-year deal back in 2016 for $275 million for the television rights to Star Wars. Holy fucking shit.
2016 was only 2 years ago, obviously, so they have 6 more years of this shit.
Plenty of fucking time. Woo! They can sit on this shit. What are they trying to leverage, Papa Kelly?
More money.
Not only that, but also programming replacements. So they're saying they're trying to look for a trade here.
You know what I want? I want Warner Brothers to go, no, we're going to make a Star Wars television show and put it on our streaming service. Just make Disney really mad.
They're like,
Ooh, they're going to sell it for something. They're going to ask them for something.
They're going to make them pay through the nose for this.
Maybe they're like, give us Fox and you can have Star Wars TV.
The deal will get done soon, though, since they want to get it done before next year, so they have like an extra thing to offer consumers.
I mean, that makes sense. If they get that back, then they could easily do a Star Wars television show, and it'll probably be big as long as they don't do a character that everybody likes.
Well, they can already do the TV shows because they announced that already. It's just the film rights, like the films that they can show on TV, or in this case, in streaming services, which they count as television legally, that they can't have. So the I don't know which ones they have here. I believe it might be the original trilogy, the rights to those, and maybe all 6, who knows. But that's something that they can't have on the streaming service as of this moment.
Wow, sneaky Warner Brothers. They were smart-ass bitches to buy that.
That's one of the reasons why they only have The Last Jedi and Rogue One on Netflix, for example.
Oh, listen, Warner Brothers just going up in my book. Just
Even higher?
Even higher. This is why it's a Palpa Kelly favorite.
Put that on your fucking logo, Warner Brothers. A Palpa Kelly favorite. Little fucking logo. We'll make something up for you. We had talked about Dave Bautista being a giant baby on Twitter.
Baby.
He's been very vocal. He plays Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, in case you don't know.
He's the big gray guy for all the people who have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's right. Not the green guy like he was in the comics, but you know what? The MCU is very accurate to the comics. Very vocal on Twitter over the firing of pedo perv director James Gunn.
Is that his name? Pedo perv?
I'm gonna fucking call him.
Daniel, I have a cold. I cannot breathe.
It's a fucking perv. Fucking pedo ass.
You're gonna be raising our son alone because you keep making me laugh and I can't breathe. He is defending James Gunn.
Pedo perv, James Gunn.
So we do have a quote here that I'm going to let Daniel read because I can't breathe.
Dave Bautista said, quote, "Nobody's defending his tweets, but this was a smear campaign on a good man. I spoke to Chris Pratt the other day after it happened, and he's a bit religious, so he wanted time to pray and figure it out. But I was more like, fuck this. This is bullshit. James is one of the kindest, most decent people I've met." End quote.
Because you're an adult.
He's an adult. He's an actor. He's a fucking actor.
Okay, well, he's that too, but I'm saying James Gunn is kind to him because he's an adult. If he was a young boy...
And then he'd be in trouble.
Then it would be different.
That's something Palmiotti was saying. He was tweeting out, like, I would work with James Gunn in a second. And I was like, well, yeah, you're over 18. You'd be completely safe.
So Bautista confirmed that Gunn had turned in his script for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 before he was fired from the film.
That's Disney's then.
Yeah.
GTFO. They can pay him and fuck off. Bautista continued by saying, quote, "Where I'm at right now is that if Marvel don't use that script, then I'm going to ask them to release me from my contract, cut me out, or recast me. I'd be doing James a disservice if I didn't." End quote. What fucking baby. Just fucking do your work.
Because you fired my friend, then I can't be friends with you either.
He's exactly like James Gunn's brother in Guardians 2. They fired my friends.
They killed my friend.
There you go.
They fired my friend James Gunn. He's one of the most kindest people I ever met. That same week, Bautista also tweeted that working for Disney is, quote, nauseating, end quote.
Nicely done, Dave.
Yeah.
You really know how to do this PR shit.
Yep.
You're still not as bad as James Gunn, though.
He really knows how to get out of a contract.
Get him out of the fucking contract. Sue him. Whatever he wants to fucking do. get him the fuck out. Like, if I learned anything from The Simpsons, and this is what I tweeted out, they can do like Poochie and just fucking cut him out of the fucking thing. Did you ever see that episode?
Mm-mm.
In The Simpsons, Homer is voicing a dog that is essentially the 90s. He's like Teen Dog, basically.
Okay.
And he's a 90s character type of guy, and Homer gets sick of it, and he's like, no, this guy needs to be deeper. He has to actually teach kids something. And he was on this Tom and Jerry type of cartoon, where instead of killing each other like they normally do, Poochie would come out and teach him a lesson about being friends. Well, eventually, they're like, ratings are fucking down. People don't want to see that. They want to see Itchy and Scratchy kill themselves. And Homer's like, look, if I'm not going to do this. If you're going to take me out of this, I want to go out on my own terms. And I wrote my own script to finish this off. They're like, all right, go ahead and record it. And he does this great speech about how he needs to go because of the learning experience and about life. The whole thing, the director's like, and cut. All right, Homer. And, he's happy about it, and they're seeing it, and he's around his family. He's like, all right, kids, I think you're going to see Poochie in a whole new perspective. And, right as he's about to do the fucking speech, it cuts to the animation stops, like he's no longer moving, and a whole different actor comes in and goes, I have to go now. My planet needs me. Woo! And then like the cell, you see the cell lift in the cartoon, and then they have like this drawing, a still image of like this explosion of a rocket, and then another image, and it says Poochie died on his way home. And then Bart and Lisa like clap, and it's like, that's how you fucking fire Dave Bautista. Get rid of his fucking character. Kill off Drax. In the first movie, he was threatening to kill Thanos because he killed his whole family, and it was this whole motivation, but fuck that shit. James Gunn's sequel instead has him doing nipple jokes and giant turd fucking jokes. I'm not gonna miss that shit, Drax. Get the fuck out of here. And if James Gunn's script is anything like 2, get rid of his fucking script too.
There's so much anger coming from you.
Because I'm fucking making sense. I can't stand these fucking people that are talking about the second script and wanting James Gunn to fucking return. You Marvel sheep, MCU sheep, I'm going to be clear. You MCU sheep are going to be there on day 1 of Guardians 3, even without James Gunn. And you'll be like, I forgot. And you'll just see the fucking shit, and you'll give it money
good.
anyway. And Disney fucking knew this. 98%! And it won't fucking matter. It won't fucking matter. You'll listen to whatever the fucking reviewers tell you, whatever the blue check marks tell you to think, and it'll be fine.
Do you feel better?
I feel all right.
That was a lot.
Am I wrong? Am I fucking wrong?
I never said that you were wrong. We'll see what happens. I don't think he's getting out of his contract.
Nah, he'll be in it.
He'll be in the movie.
They'll use
no matter
the script,
what
and
script.
that's it. It's fine.
And then he'll come out with something else about, nah, meh. And that'll be it.
You ready for some more fucking anger? You ready for some more goddamn
anger?
anger?
I'm so ready for your anger.
The Oscars have announced, get ready for this, a Best Popular Film category. The Oscars, Kelly. A Best Popular... It's the fucking Kids' Choice Awards up in this fucking bitch. God damn it. In an attempt to gather more viewers through audience participation. Best Popular Film.
Where would they get an idea like that?
Where indeed? Variety's going to tell us where.
So Variety has since reported that, what's this? Disney and ABC executives had a sit down with the Academy and recommended this blockbuster category to better appeal to younger viewers.
That's going to do the trick. You guys are right. You guys are fucking falling for this shit, you fucking idiots.
But what's this other piece of news that still further convinced them? ABC is also the exclusive broadcasting partner for the Oscars through 2028.
So they're like, we can't win Oscars the legitimate way for our fucking popcorn bullshit movies or for Star Wars. So what else can we do? We'll leave this into the hands of the people. I don't know how this fucking voting process is going to go, but we'll leave it into, you know what? If they reach this threshold of X amount of dollars in the box office, then we can name it as one of the... It's going to be whatever makes the most fucking money. And now that they have Fox, great, 90% of the fucking nominees are going to be Disney. Gee, I wonder if there's going to be a Marvel movie in the future that wins a most popular film, a thank you for participating Oscar.
So do you think it's going to be based on money earned?
Correct. Yes, that's what popular blockbuster means.
Damn it, I thought people were going to actually vote, and I was going to say the people who watch these movies don't fucking watch the Oscars, so they're not going to vote.
What's most likely going to happen is they're going to say, all right, so these are the top 10 highest grossing movies this year. So these, probably 10, they're going to keep it at 10 because that's what they like to do now with Best Picture.
Yes.
Is, all right, now the Academy votes on those 10. And 9 out of those fucking 10 is going to be Disney films.
So you know the one that's going to win?
I fucking
the
no,
actual
it's not.
Good one.
It won't. And that's going to be, it's a stupid fucking category now. It further illegitimizes the fucking Oscars.
Exactly.
And further legitimizes the goddamn Broscars.
Well, yeah, because the Broscars are the best, but the Broscars will also have a popular vote category. And it's what do I vote is the best movie of the year.
No, we'll include the Brokettes. However, your vote will count for a majority.
Because I am the Academy, bitches.
It's the Emperor. Can't fucking argue that shit.
Hell yeah. This is dumb. But we thought it was dumb when they added 10. Here's the thing about the Oscars. Fewer people are watching them.
It's one of those, like, let's just cheat and win. Like,
pretty much.
And the thing is, like, it's not going to say the most popular category. It's going to say Oscar winning, no matter what.
You know what happened? This is some kid going, Mommy, Mommy, I want to win too. And then the mom goes, okay.
Let's win. I've never done a good Mickey. My voice is way too low.
Only one man is allowed to do Mickey.
Who's that?
The man who voices Mickey.
I've heard some pretty good Mickeys.
Yeah, but he's the only one allowed to do Mickey.
Fuck that shit. Let's talk about Warner Brothers. Then.
All right.
Some WB. Let's tone things down.
The Papa Kelly
really
picks.
Go into. Yeah, that's right.
All right, this is the smooth jazz section. Yeah. Tone things down.
Starting on August 31st, at the very end of this month,
yes,
Cinemark Theaters, our favorite personal theater that we like to go to, will be re-releasing all 8 Harry Potter films as well as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them until September 6th.
Viewers can see each one individually or purchase a pass that includes access to all 9 films as well as exclusive memorabilia.
We have a quote here from Cinemark CEO Mark Zoradi, who said, "The magic of the wizarding world truly comes to life through the 35 trillion colors." I thought he was going to say dollars. That this franchise is fucking made. And custom engineering sound through our Cinemark XD auditoriums. And we are proud to give fans such a remarkable movie watching experience for one of the most notable franchises in the world. End quote.
So, is this only going to be in their XD theater?
Correct. Yes. So it's going to be a premium price.
More expensive.
Yeah, but we're Cinemark Movie Club members, so that'll help a little bit in the pricing. Like if we wanted to go, and there's really only 2 movies I would see as far as an XD experience. Although I do like a majority, I do like most of them.
The thing that's really cool about this is I still feel like Harry Potter hasn't lost that much popularity. It's still
not at all.
Fucking huge. I mean, it came out at just the right time that it was so nostalgic for people, but then people are now taking their kids and their kids are falling in love with it too. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just great. And some of the movies are so perfect that, yes, people are going to pay the price, you know, even for the premium price to go out and see them. Like you said, we have 2 movies that we'd want to see. You just bought all of them.
On Blu-ray,
Blu-ray. So we have them. Again, because a lot of them were so well done and it told such a great story. So I think this is a great thing for them to bring out. They have it at that limited time that there's no reason that their theaters can't be packed. And if you're a huge fan, yeah, you're going to take your day off and go see all 9 films and get your exclusive t-shirt that says, "I fucking watched Snape die and I cried." I don't know what it's going to say.
Truth. That's still my favorite, and we've told this story like 3 times in all 300 plus episodes, but it's still like when Harry Potter Part 8, Part 2, or whatever the fuck came on, and that's like the 2nd or 3rd Harry Potter you ever saw.
Yep.
But you knew how much of a Snape fan I was, that the first opening scene is Snape, like a silhouette of Snape, and then they cut to him, and he's not brooding, but he's stuck, right? Like there's so much internal conflict going on in his inside him. And then you're like, "There's your boyfriend, Snape." And I'm like, like I just kind of like ignored you a little bit. She'll learn.
Well, what year did that come out? Do you remember?
I'd have to look it up, but it was probably 2008 or 2009. But then my favorite is like the Snape scene came up where it's like, hero was revealed. to people that didn't read the books, that Snape was actually in love with Lily this whole time, like truly revealed. Like, yeah, we saw hints of it before, but this was where you saw the unfolding of the story, and it was after his fucking death on top of that, of like his last words were, you have your mother's eyes, which is what everyone tells him throughout these books. They all tell him, you have your mother's eyes. Every fucking person keeps telling him this, but it means so much more coming from Snape, because then you see like, holy shit, this fucking guy was in love with my mom. You know that, but you as a viewer and as a reader, you're just fucking weeping, and you were crying.
Oh, I was crying so much.
We saw it a second time because it was so well done. Just the Snape portions, like everything else could have fucked off. But then that opening scene came on and you were tearing up. I was tearing up just because we knew that it was fucking Alan Rickman. What a goddamn genius.
He was amazing. Yes. Oh, Snape. And then that led us down the spiral of Snormini.
That led you down the spiral. Don't get me wrapped up in that pedo perv shit. Fucking James Gunn is probably all over that.
No, you were like so fascinated too, remember?
I was fascinated by the fact that you were fascinated.
Snary and
I was like, that's so fucking weird. Like, that's some Tumblr shit.
But that was before Tumblr.
When did the Part 8, Part 2 come out?
What was the actual name of that movie?
It's called The Deathly Hallows, Part 2.
Deathly Hallows 2010 and or 2011. 2011.
There you go. So 2011.
So we were still fairly new in our relationship. Mm-hmm. That's why you were like, nah. Now if I'm like, that's your boyfriend, you'd be like, yes, it is.
And you'll learn.
Man crush, Kelly?
It's everyone's man crush. Snape was amazing.
This is marriage, everyone.
Yeah, if I'm going to see another one of these in Cinemark, if we have the time, it's going to be the third one, Prisoner of Azkaban. That's probably my favorite one. And then the Part 2, Part 8 of it.
Who was the director of Prisoner of Azkaban? Because you always said that was your favorite.
Alfonso Cuarón.
There you go.
Fellow Mexican, never came back again. He said that it took him away from his family. He had, I think, a kid or two. And he's like, I missed out over a year of his growth. And they offered him, and that was one thing that J.K. Rowling was like, I think a British man should be doing these, not him. And then she saw his movie, and she's like, I was wrong, he's great. And I was like, that's some fucking racism right fucking there.
At least she admitted that she was wrong.
She should have admitted she was being fucking racist right fucking there.
Well, but can you imagine missing a year of Leo's life?
It's insane, yeah. And that's why she did. And a lot of people were like, Guillermo del Toro, like the next Mexican dude. And I was like, actually, yeah, he would probably do a good job too.
He would, but there'd be like everything would be puppets and just blow the budget out of the water.
He did in the third Prisoner of Azkaban, and Prisoner of Azkaban came out, and that's the one in which it had a lot of changes. And Alfonso did actually make more changes than the first two movies, which were more like, let's see if this fucking takes off, and it did. But that's when he was like, all right, let's, like, whatever you guys did, great, but this makes more sense. And he started, like, he changed Hagrid's placement on the grounds, which pissed off a lot of the viewers of the first two, because they're like, that looks different. They recast Dumbledore because the previous actor had died. So there was a lot of theme of change in this movie. And that was one thing that actually stuck for the rest of the franchise. It was a darker movie, and that theme stuck with the rest of them, because that was that period, post 9/11, where the darker movies kind of attracted viewers, because that's the mindset that we were in. That's why the Dark Knight trilogy was so successful and probably wouldn't work today. So instead, we've got these changes, and that was a very, very contentious and kind of weird. But because of the fact that they kept it for the next 5, technically 6 movies, that it was like, all right, well, people forgot about it. And now people are also saying, most commonly, that Azkaban is also their favorite of the whole franchise. And I remember as I was watching it, he injected so many like Mexican culture things in that, which didn't make sense because it was all in London or, Harry Potter world. But you see like little Mexican Day of the Dead skulls in a couple of scenes that he kind of zooms in on. And that's like the transition. Dumbledore hums... He hums the da-dun, 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 da-da-da-da-da-da-dun.
Why the hell would he hum that?
Because the director fucking told him to, and he fucking did it.
Fine.
So he put in a lot of, like, there's little Mexican flags in, not Gringotts, the other one. The, like, alley or whatever the fuck, the
Diagon
marketplace.
Alley?
Yeah, there's, like, little Mexican flags that he threw in there.
Okay.
The eagle, which was supposed to be Gryffindor, he based it on the Mexican flag, and it has a snake.
Of course.
In the books, they wouldn't do that because that's Gryffindor against Slytherin. But he was like, that's also representation of these movies, which is literally Gryffindor versus Slytherin. So, boom, Mexican fucking flag, and that was all over the place. And I caught on that shit, and I don't know if viewers did. But
probably not.
But if, he had returned, they probably... I was a champion of that, but he never did, unfortunately. And that's one thing they actually wanted him... There was a whole petition for him to return for every single movie after that. Every single one, up to number 8.
Well, maybe he'll come back someday.
Maybe.
Maybe he can direct Johnny Depp to be not weird like he is in Fantastic Beasts.
He directed the hell out of Gary Oldman and Alan Rickman.
Well, I like both of them, so.
Continuing down the Warner Brothers path, we've got some comic book movie news. They really made some announcements this week. As reported by The Wrap, I'm a little bit skeptical about this. I'll tell you why. But Black Mask will be the main villain in DC's Birds of Prey film, which is the character that they were saying has not yet appeared on the big screen.
So the team will consist of Harley Quinn, Black Canary, Huntress, Renee Montoya, and Cassandra Cain going up against the Batman villain, again, who will make his debut on the big screen.
This story was written by Mr. Heroic Hollywood himself, Humberto something rather, the guy that I did that short little live stream of where I was making fun of him because he just scoops whatever fucking nonsense. He pretty much lies or whatever, but the fact that this came up on Newsarama, it has a little bit more credibility because there are more sources backing this up than just him. Plus, David Ayer, who directed Suicide Squad and is currently doing the Gotham City Sirens film, at least last time we heard, tweeted out a picture of Black Mask last year. And just a picture of Black Mask from the comics or video games. I can't remember. Probably the comics. And people were thinking, okay, that's going to be the villain in Gotham City Sirens. Well, now they're saying that's actually going to be Birds of Prey, which could be a part of the changes that Warner Brothers is doing.
But you said you're skeptical of this.
I am only because of the guy who broke the story, the scooper, who makes up a lot of shit, and he hits on maybe 10% of it, and then he claims to be like, look, I was right about this, but no one remembers the things he forgot or was wrong about.
Right. I mean, it'd be cool, I guess. I'm not a big Black Mask fan. I've read him in the books, whatever, he's there.
It's interesting because it's like, do you choose a villain that's not going to outshine the Birds of Prey in a way? Because it is about that female team, right? It is about showing them taking down thugs because that is the type of character that he is. He has an obsession with masks, but at the end of the day, he is a type of criminal warlord, right? So with the Birds of Prey taking him down in the end and just using their skills to the best of the advantage and then really developing their own relationship as a team, I think that's the best kind of movie you can make. If you put someone like the Riddler or something, it might be a little bit different, although way more interesting than the Black Mask. And who knows, there could be another villain behind it.
You know who they should have picked?
Who would you throw in?
Mr. Freeze.
Why Mr. Freeze? Why's he going after the Birds of Prey? Why is he stealing diamonds?
He would be like, he could steal diamonds to power his ice things, right? And then, like, the Birds of Prey are fighting him, and then they finally corner him, and he's like, I'm just trying to save Nora. And then they're like, girl power! And then they all band together.
And they all save Nora,
yeah.
Including Mr. Freeze? Like, yes.
Yes, it would be perfect, right? Because that's what would happen on an all-female team. They would say, oh, you're just hurt. Let us help you save your wife.
He's trying to save his wife. Like, they would all, immediately.
It would be perfect.
It's not a bad idea.
I fucking love it.
But I want him to be a member of the Birds of Prey and Birds of Prey 2, then.
That's fine. For Nora.
For Nora!
I want DC to be listening like, yes, add that.
Good, very good. No casting or release date has been given for Birds of Prey or Black Mask. We shall find out in the next year or so. We've got a new announcement for another Kryptonian.
So Deadline is reporting that a Supergirl film is in the works with Oren Uziel.
Yeah, who directed 22 Jump Street. So, whatever that means.
Well, Oren will be pinning the script. Did we see 22 Jump Street?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. He wrote the script for 22.
Did we see 22 Jump Street?
No, I didn't see it. It was, I can't say anything about it. It's just the trailer didn't appeal to me.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, they are a Supergirl movie. No director or date was revealed yet.
The article that I pulled up, they're like, it hasn't been confirmed whether or not this will be the CW Supergirl. It's not going to be the fucking CW Supergirl. That's its own fucking shit. They're not going to... It's a whole different division anyway. Like, they're like different companies. Yeah, they will recast... they immediately, all of us fellow DCEU fans, immediately took to Vero as soon as this news broke and asked Zack Snyder. And because Zack Snyder is the patron saint of the DCEU, he fucking answered.
Of course
he fucking answered. They asked him, is this what the... Because in Man of Steel, he very specifically directed a scene in which Clark is looking inside the ship. All the pods
And
are
there's a
closed,
thing
and one of
open.
them is open.
Yes.
And in the comic book adaptation, or not adaptation, but like the extra piece to it, based on Man of Steel, it is confirmed that Kara Zor-El is the person that it was in that pod, and she's somewhere on Earth. Well, they asked Zack Snyder, like, hey, so is this confirmation that you did plan on having Kara Zor-El in the future movies? And he said it wasn't Kara, but someone else from this comic scene. So we were like, who the fuck? So all the DCU fans are like, who the fuck is it then? Because none of these characters were anyone. Like, my whole ignorant guess, and I'm like, Brainiac? Like, maybe Brainiac, like, downloaded himself into the ship and he has a fucking body and is running around in the fucking world. Give me Man of Steel 2 with fucking Brainiac, please.
That'd be cool.
But if this is Supergirl, that's fine. But it sounds like Zack Snyder was like, I don't know what they're doing because I'm not involved, but my plan was not Kara. And I'm like, that's fucking weird. Again, it's like that Dick Grayson thing from last week where it's not Jason Todd. Hold on a
Dick
sec.
Grayson. I mean, listen, we love Zack Snyder, so he can do what he wants. But can I tell you right now, how many years has it been since we've seen Man of Steel?
It's going to be close to a decade now.
So, yeah, it's been a while.
Probably like 7 years?
Since the most recent time
5
we've
years?
seen it. Has it been 5 years since
Oh, no,
we
so the
watched
last
it?
time, no, we saw it in when you were recovering from Leo's birth.
Did we
played
really
it on,
watch
yeah,
it?
yeah. You might not remember, but
I know. Anyway, that's still like a year, right? But just to point out how great the music was in that movie, you're talking about that scene where he sees the open thing, and I remember the music from that scene, and I'm just like, whoa, like I'm there with Clark right now.
And that's one of the criticisms. You remind me about the music in that scene where he's flying for the first time after he leaves the ship and he has his suit on. A lot of these fucking bloggers and reviewers were saying, this isn't Superman that people can grow up with. And there's like someone tweeted out a video of his son with a Superman cape and he's watching Man of Steel. And that scene where he's flying, he's pretending to fly with Superman as he's jumping and crashing. Yeah, it's amazing. And he has it like perfectly choreographed. And he's like, that's Superman form. Like the Superman for many kids out there. Like Man of Steel is the best from the DCEU. Like I don't know about you, but I think that's my favorite film between Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, definitely fucking Justice League. Like Man of Steel is overall like the best film, the best one that's best directed. Like it's just so complete and well done. And there are some issues with it. And yeah, I'll argue that the Dark Knight trilogy is better than that. But if you're talking about just the DCEU, not DC films overall, which Mask of the Phantasm fucking wins.
Of course.
Like Man of Steel is really well done.
Well, the thing I love most about Man of Steel, and then we'll move on because I know we've talked about this before, but I love that we really get to see his parents, I mean his Earth parents, helping him through all this shit. Like when he's young and his powers are starting to develop. And now as a parent, I feel that even more because it's hard enough raising my kid regular. And now I have to worry about his heat vision and his x-ray vision. And he's seeing fucking bones and he can hear everything. And
when he discovers that, I'm tearing up now, I guess, as a dad, but I've never teared up at this scene. And it's when Kevin Costner and little young Clark Kent, and he says, they're learning that he's an alien. He discovers this spaceship and he says, I just want to be your son. And he says, you are my son. And he holds him. Like, that's such a fucking powerful fucking scene that it speaks to the whole mythos, right? To Superman. And it's really well fucking done because it is, at the end of the day, he's not a Kryptonian. He's someone from Earth. And that's what the whole theme of the film is when Zod tells him, like, no, if you kill them, like, this is the future of Krypton. Like, this is DNA. This is their future. These are essentially babies, right?
Right.
Because that's how they used to make the Kryptonians.
They grew
They're
them,
perfect, yeah. And Clark is about to burn them all, and Zod said, no, if you do this, Krypton is dead. And he says, Krypton had its chance, and he fucking kills 1,000 babies. So it shows that, like, he's a man of Earth. Like, he is an Earthling at the end of the day. He's someone from Kansas.
We gotta watch that movie again with all this time that we have.
Yeah, seriously.
But still sticking with the Warner Brothers movies, according to Batman director Matt Reeves, Ben Affleck is still involved in the film.
Why is this
even news?
What do you call it, Affleck?
I don't know.
You always pronounce it that way.
Affleck.
He's
still involved in the film. I don't know why this is still news.
Because these sites are making up that fucking bullshit of, like, he wants out. It's like, he never fucking said he wants out. Someone talked to Matt Damon, and Matt Damon said that he wants it. It's like, Matt Damon's not in the fucking movie. Sure enough, Ben Affleck comes out in San Diego last year, and he's like, being Batman's the greatest thing ever. No, I think he wants out. It's like, you fucking idiots. And finally, Matt Reeves had to come out with a quote who said, we have conceptual stuff going on, and coming into being, my head is totally in the script. In fact, I'm going to be leaving right now from the Beverly Hilton to work on the script, end quote. What else do you fucking want? Keep making those goddamn articles, though. Keep getting your fucking clicks. Pieces of shit.
Reeves also shot down speculation that this would be an origin story based on Batman Year One.
Warner Brothers has not announced an official release date for The Batman, but Reeves hopes to start filming during the first half of 2019.
Again, I still don't see why this is an issue. Who would ever stop being Batman? Nobody should ever want to stop being Batman.
Why'd Christian Bale stop?
Because they only had 3 movies.
They actually asked him if he wanted to be Batman in BVS, and he turned it down, and that's when they made it into its own universe. But otherwise, that would have been like the other real... That's why Man of Steel was so grounded, and it would have fit in the Dark Knight universe, because that was the original plan. But now we're getting a more comic booky type of universe, which is fine.
Which I love.
Except for Justice League. Except for some of Justice League.
Okay. I would never stop being Batman. If they said, hey, Kelly, do you want to be Batman? I do my best Batman voice. You'd be like, where are the other drugs going?
I play The Dark Knight and Batman Begins in the shop every now and again. We're like, whenever it's Dark Knight, they're like, oh, that fucking voice. Ooh, Christian Bale. And I'm like, actually, that was the director. It was Chris Nolan, who changed it in post-production. But yeah, if you want to shit on Christian Bale, that's fine. No, oh, really? I don't know.
Bad.
Yeah, seriously.
Nolan.
No, they don't want to shit on Nolan at all. Aquaman director James Wan recently confirmed that my solo film will not cross over with any other Justice League members. There will not be no Batman showing up in my movie, no Aquaman, no Wonder Woman. I'm sorry, no Wonder Woman, no Batman, no Superman, no Cyborg. None of them are going to be in Aquaman.
As well, it shouldn't. You need to steal the show.
Just like in Wonder Woman. There were no other members except for a little note from Bruce, but you didn't see Bruce.
So we do have a quote from Juan. Quote, I wanted to keep the story to the world of Aquaman and not have to worry about what other characters are doing in their films and how that would affect us. I just thought the simplest way was to keep it clean, keep it simple, and let it be an Aquaman story. I told them I understand and I respect that it's all part of a bigger universe, but at the end of the day, I have to tell the story I want to tell, and I want to develop the characters as well. It was something the studio was respectful about. End quote.
What have the MCU sheep, how have they reacted to this? How do you expect them to just take a fucking guess, pause the podcast, and think?
They should all connect.
Now they should all connect. Before they were saying... They need to slow down. Slow down.
Give us the origins.
And now we're getting that, and they're like, no, I don't think that's right. They don't know what they're doing. Fucking forget them. Fucking forget them. Aquaman, my movie releases on December 21st. Go watch it.
I think that this is a great idea. It's a great way to go. Yeah, just make it about Aquaman.
And for years, we fucking said that the standalone movies were the best ones.
They were awesome. Don't throw in all these random-ass characters like the Marvel does.
And they didn't do it for Man of Steel. They didn't do it for Suicide Squad. Batman was already established in BVS. BVS.
Wonder Woman, like you just mentioned.
And Wonder Woman had its own standalone film. Our favorite Marvel movie was Captain America, the first one, and that's its own standalone movie. And it's been years since nothing's been able to top that shit.
The thing about throwing in all these characters, and I know people love it, and I guess I see why, but the thing is, when you throw all these characters in, you have to give them something to do, or they feel like they have to give them something to do, and then you kind of muddy the water, and you don't have the opportunity to really expand on these characters and on these stories. Exactly like he says, he wants to develop this world, he wants to develop these characters, and if you're throwing in all these other things, it can even be said in the comic books. When you have comic books with a shit ton of different characters, like when they have those crossover events, you know, even in DC Comics, my favorite stories are ones where it's just Batman or it's just Superman. And yeah, it's cool when we see like the Super Sons and stuff, but when you have a whole bunch of people,
Justice League,
like Justice League, then yeah, things get very muddy. It is very difficult to give us that quality that we love to see.
Avengers.
Yes.
Avengers 2. Avengers 3, probably.
All the Avengers. Yes.
That's really interesting, though, that Juan said that Warner Brothers let him do his thing. Yeah. Because that's way different than how they treated Zack Snyder with Justice League, in which they, like, yeah, his daughter committed suicide, but they also, from what he's been saying on Vero, he got fired and replaced with Joey Whedon. which then he's like, I haven't even seen Justice League. Like, he doesn't even want to watch that shit.
Until they release his cut, and then he'll watch it.
My stunt double, Jason Momoa, like 2 weeks ago at a local con, he greeted the crowd at his panel by saying, I've seen the Snyder cut and it is amazing. And people were like, oh, there it is. It's fucking confirmed. So he just fucking threw gasoline on the goddamn fire.
Of course he did. He probably hadn't even seen that shit.
Probably not.
He probably drunk as hell. Jeez.
That does wrap up our news for the week. We hope the Brocat Core enjoyed it. Very colorful news week.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's head into the Brocat block where the listeners can get to know us a little bit better. What's been going on? Obviously, you've been a little bit sick.
I did catch a cold, so I'm not young like I used to be. And
again, 40-year-olds are like, fuck off. How old are you, Kelly? 29, 28?
28. I feel old. I birthed a child. That adds 20 years. So I had a couple early mornings at work. So again, because we have a child and if he wakes up, then, it's significantly harder to get ready in the morning. So I've been showering the night before and sleeping with wet hair. Well, 5 years ago, that shit wouldn't bother me. I could do that shit all night long. And now my body's like, no, we're dying. So...
By the way, thank me for the editing skills. I've been cutting out many coughs.
Coughing all day long. So it's just a head cold, like it's just in my chest and my nose, and I'm over the worst of it now. I don't really feel bad. I just sound terrible. I sound old and excellent. Excellent. So yeah, just fighting that and trying to live.
Yeah, my week's been okay. It's been all right. Like, my local comic shop that I manage is about to hit its 1 year anniversary, so we've been pushing that, and it's been wonderful seeing a lot of regulars, subscribers, and customers. Like, it's like it is a great thing. Like, it's an achievement in some way because it's a local business, and
right.
Like a lot of people are like, comic books, no, that's a failing business. It's like, we're doing fine. Like, we're doing really good. And people have been congratulating us on it, which feels great. But it's also it's more of a testament to the customers or to the subscribers. It's more that they're doing. It really is any business, I guess. So their support is what I always try to turn it around to. It's like, no, thank you for continuing to support us. Thank you for being there. Thank you for picking up your books. Some of them pick them up on every single week. Like I see them every Wednesday before I open. They're outside the door, and that feels great. Like even though I'm by myself and I have a line. Have a little conversation with all of them.
Right.
So that's been going on this week. It's taken a lot of attention at work, especially with planning and making sure that we do make this a special thing, and especially with year 2, year 3, year 4, and so on. And I think next year, that's another lesson learned because it's the first time I've managed a shop that has hit its 1 year. Before that, I worked as an assistant manager at a store that had been in a multi-year type of, I guess, existence or whatever you want to call it. But in this case, it's kind of like a confirmation that, all right, we're heading in the right direction. We're doing things okay, so that's felt good. It is a confirmation. And I think for year 2, I want to try to do things a little bit bigger and try to make things even more special. But the first year is never going to be something that you forget. So to me, I'm trying to kind of absorb all of that and focus on that as well as, my personal life with you and Leo and the podcast and everything else that's going on. So my mind's constantly, again, filled. Like I've not been bored in fucking years. I've not been bored in fucking years.
Ever since I stepped into your life and filled it with such joy. Aww.
That's right. Anyone that says you're fucking bored, I'll give you something to do.
Right. Well, kind of piggybacking off of that, I do have to commend you for all the hard work and all the hours that you've put into the store. You come home and you're still working on stuff. And
I was working today. And it's my day off.
Yeah, you never have a day off. You're always working on it. But even with all the changes that are happening in our life, the reason the store is so successful is because of all the hard work you put into it. So I hope you don't ever lose sight of that.
I'm not going to acknowledge that. I can't. I don't deal well with that, I guess.
It's the truth.
I just doing my thing. Doing my thing.
But some Leo news, because our broadcasts love to hear about our little man.
The gym class, right? Is that what you're going into?
Well, he also has 2 more teeth coming in, so we're now up to 6 teeth. and he likes to bite with those teeth.
They came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, he was just like laughing upside down, and I'm like, the fuck is that in your mouth? And like I'm opening his mouth, and he's like, closing up his little mouth. He's trying to talk a lot more. We took him to a gym class today. There's 3 or 4 little baby gyms near us, and they're like, sign up for a free class. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll go. And then they're like,
you're trying to convince me for that shit.
Well, I don't like this one as much. We'll check out the other one.
All right.
Because for these classes is $80 a month for 4 classes.
I also felt like an asshole in there.
Why?
I was like all the parents, and then it's like, all right, now like you were singing songs that I didn't grow up with. Like
I didn't know any
songs.
of those songs.
You did though.
Which one
like
did I know?
The shuffle to the left and shuffle to the right. I don't know the fucking song.
Oh,
like you
I
knew
didn't
that
know
fucking
one.
shit. And I felt like a fucking dick up there, like with my like as a parent, like, oh, here we go. Let's all play pretend. And I was like, I'm a fucking asshole. I'm a dick.
How much did your child love it?
He was confused. He did not know what the fuck was going on.
Did he not like crawling around and seeing bubbles?
That's what I'll maybe consider paying for. Like, not the fucking class where you're fucking dancing with the other goddamn babies. Like, I just want to, all right, so here's all the shit. Like, let your child play. All right, Leo, let's go play in the ball pit. Let's go play in the trampoline. Let's go down the slide.
Well, there's other ones that we can check out. And he loved lots of things like the bubbles and
yes,
all
he
the
did.
balls.
Fine, but I'm just telling you why I felt like a dick.
The slide.
Felt like an asshole. I felt very white, actually. Like, I was like, I'm the darkest guy here.
Welcome to our world, where we pay for our babies
to have fun.
To have fun, instead of saying, "Here's a ball and a stick. Go outside."
Yes. Here's a bicycle. Go somewhere.
Okay, so are you gonna let our kid go play in the grass?
Yeah. He can play in the grass.
Really? Even though it's dirty?
He can play in the front lawn.
Okay, we'll take him out on the front lawn and let him crawl in the grass. So
what else, though? What else?
Leo's growing well. He's a big man. He's trying to talk a lot. Can't talk yet. He's trying to walk, pulling himself up on things, trying to climb out the doggy door. He knows what no means now. And when you say it,
he gets upset.
He smiles at you, and like he still puts that leaf towards his mouth. And I'm like, Leo, no. And then he keeps doing it.
Today we had to tell him no at the restaurant because he was getting up off his
high chair,
standing up. He got upset because like you were like, no, Leo, no, and he looked at you, and I was like, no, Leo, and he looked at me, confirmed that I was also telling him no, and that's when he's like, he started crying. Well, not crying, but like objecting,
getting fussy. I had to give him a little pop on his leg the other day. Because he kept getting up and I kept telling him no and he didn't do it. So I just like...
Don't touch my child, Kelly.
I didn't hit him hard.
I'm not going to give him a pop. I'll never give him a pop. You can be the person.
Disciplinarian. There's always one disciplinarian.
I can discipline him, but I can't pop him. Whatever that is.
It's just a little tap. Like...
Fine. A little... What? I can't do that.
All right. Then don't.
Is that it for the Brocat block? Can we move on?
I think so, yes.
Let's move on.
On that note.
Things got intense. More intense than the fucking Oscars. Let's thank our Patreon backers for the week.
This week we have 4 Patreon shoutouts. The first one goes out to John, whose Twitter handle is @John72Tex.
John actually shared his original comic page from Lee Bermejo's Joker graphic novel. It's been a few years since you've read it, but it's the page where Harley Quinn, like, remember if she was a stripper in this particular iteration of it, but where she actually puts on the mask and she's going like this, hasn't come on to the reader or to the people that were actually in the strip club. And he owns the original page of it, like all inked out and penciled out. I was like, holy shit, you fucking own that shit? Like, it was amazing.
You're the one who bought that? Like you were fighting
Not
for
even
it.
that, but it was just like, it's like, not even a small world, but it's like a Brocat Core member has that.
Right.
That's amazing. Fine taste. Like, beautiful. Chef kiss.
Our next shout out goes out to Brian, whose Twitter handle is @BrianShaup1.
He retweeted the meme of Disney as Palpatine, which is fake news. Palpatine, fake emperor, right? Yeah. Being threatened by Jedi, a.k.a. Columbia Pictures, MGM, and Universal. So Palpatine had a big Mickey head on top of it, Photoshop. And then the 3 Jedis in the original scene, it's Samuel L. Jackson and 2 other fuckers that get killed. But in this, it's Columbia Pictures and several movie studios. And Columbia says, the box office decides your fate. And Disney responds with, I am the box. You do it. You're the emperor.
I am the box office.
And swings a lightsaber. And on top of the lightsaber, there's the logos of Marvel, LucasArts, and Pixar. It's like fucking perfect.
It's true.
Evil ass goddamn Disney. But all because you want to see your fucking stupid ass Fantastic Four mutants.
Are you saying Emperor Palpatine is evil?
Emperor Palpatine is absolutely evil, and so is Disney. You are not Emperor Palpatine. You are Emperor Kelli. There's vast differences between you and Disney, between you and Emperor Palpatine. I think if Darth Vader, I don't know if you remember in episode 3, when fucking Anakin gets burned up in the goddamn lava.
I never saw
And then
it.
Palpatine, he gets burned up, gets kicked, his ass gets kicked by Obi-Wan, who's like an amazing fucking Jedi. And he gets burned up by the lava, and Obi-Wan's like, ugh, and he walks off. Like, he just lets him burn.
Jesus.
And he tells him, like, and this is after he already severed his legs and his arm. Like, he's like, he just leaves him to die, and he walks off, but it hurts him because that was his apprentice.
Right.
And then Palpatine...
Why didn't he just fucking put him out of his misery and save all his bullshit after, whatever?
Because the fucking original trilogy.
Okay.
But Palpatine finds him, and he's like, there he is. And they walk up to him, and he's still alive. Like, he's amazed by it, so they put him in the Darth Vader suit,
Right.
and he's mostly machine. And it's a temporary thing for Palpatine, because he's always constantly, according to the comics, challenging him and trying to find a new... someone better, a better Sith. And Darth Vader keeps fucking killing them all, or proving his own worth. And Palpatine drags him along as the abusive boyfriend and says, I knew you were going to win, type of thing, right?
Right.
So to me, it's like Palpatine is weaker because it's like, no, just fucking push him in the goddamn lava and find someone else, right?
Just kick him over the edge. Oh, he slept. We tried to save him. You know what sucks, though? So Obi-Wan could have done two things. He could have either killed him and put him out of his misery, or he could have taken him back, rehabilitated him, and possibly turned him towards the light side again. Jesus, Obi-Wan.
True as well. All true things. This is why you're the Emperor Palpatine.
More shout-outs. I'm angry now. This is why women should rule the world. I'm sorry. Continue.
Not true. Next shout-out goes out to Christian on Twitter, new Twitter handle, @WhiteHispanic58. He retweeted that he wants to see the release of a Batman v Superman commentary track featuring Zack Snyder. Absolutely.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
I didn't fucking put this in here. What is this bullshit?
No, they let him do his thing, more or less. It's Justice League that we want to see a real commentary track.
Yes, sorry. And our final shout out goes out to Kat, whose Instagram is @Katsha.
She named Starbucks as the 8th wonder of the world.
Fuck yes, it is.
Which I figured you would appreciate.
I do. I love Starbucks. Starbucks is amazing. I treat myself on my Friday every week to a Starbucks because I earned it. They just have delicious coffee. I don't know if you can taste the difference. Can you taste the difference between Starbucks coffee and everywhere else coffee?
Starbucks is sweeter. Like, I'm not a fan.
No, I'm not talking about the flavoring. I'm talking about the coffee.
I'd have to actually have a Starbucks coffee, none of this milkshake shit, like none of the lattes or chai, whatever. No, I would have to have an actual coffee from them.
All
like
right.
McDonald's coffee is solid, so is Wawa. Wawa's probably my favorite coffee of all time right now. I would have to have a legitimate, just straight up
Starbucks
black coffee from Starbucks.
But like, even if I get lattes from Starbucks or lattes from Wawa, I can still taste the difference in the espresso. Blonde espresso.
They just have more varieties. I think that's what it comes down to.
That's not what it comes down to. It's how the beans are roasted.
Whatever.
It is how
nonsense.
the beans are roasted. I mean, they do have a lot of variety, but again, how the beans are roasted. They have 2 different types of espresso.
So anyway, huge thanks to Kat, Christian, Brian, and John for your contribution on patreon.com/thereasonsimmbroke. You too can get your shout out and cause some debates right here on the podcast, cause some more content, more importantly, for just $1. A single dollar a month. Single dollar a month, 25 cents per episode. We are $13 away from the next goal. You too can get your shout out. Head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. There is a link in today's show notes.
You not only get your shout out, though, you also get the episode early. So as soon as Daniel's done editing it, he throws it up right there for you. Everybody else gotta wait till Sunday.
You gotta wait till fucking Sunday.
Gotta wait till Sunday.
You can be listening to this shit on Friday, on Saturday.
You can be done with it by Sunday. Be like, B-Chance, I already know what's going on.
I have people tweet. I have Patreon backers tweeting my ass on fucking Saturdays and Fridays and saying, I really liked that last episode where you had Bernie Gonzalez on the episode. Like, beautiful. I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect right there. That they're enjoying this episode early. They're enjoying it over. They're going through the weekend and they already heard this goddamn episode. Patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. Huge thanks to decalavenue.com for the help with the decals at the $5 reward tier. What are we pushing this week, Papa Kelly?
You can leave us a voicemail. Your voice, too, can be heard on our podcast.
It can be Darth Vader Daniel, Emperor Kelli, and yourself.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No, you gotta leave us a voicemail or Patreon. Like, that's a fucking genius right there. That shit is amazing. Speakpipe.com/thereasonsimBroke.
You can leave us up to 90 seconds, 90 second voicemail, talking to us about whatever.
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 Let's head into our movie review based on a comic for the week.
The movie we're going to review is Death of Superman.
This is directed by Sam Liu, who also directed Batman and Harley Quinn, as well as James Tucker, 2 directors on this one.
It's written by Peter J. Tomasi.
Love Peter J. Tomasi.
Who wrote Batman and Robin for the New 52.
And Superman and DC Rebirth. Kill anything by Peter J. Tomasi. Fucking read it.
Gold.
This stars Jerry O'Connell, who plays Superman. Also starred in Kangaroo Jack. So
right.
There's that. Jason O'Mara, who is the new Batman from Justice League War. I believe that was his first film in the DC universe. Rebecca Romijn, who plays Lois Lane. She was also, that rhymes, Mystique in X-Men 2, X-Men 1, was previously married to John Stamos.
Oh, John Stamos is a good-looking man.
He's a vampire.
He certainly is. I saw him in person once.
So is Rebecca, which makes sense. They were together.
Perfect.
So.
I'm glad you said her name because I would have said Romijn.
It might be that, but I could have sworn it was Romaine.
And more, of course. So with this movie, we're going to talk about the story, the acting, the directing, and the special effects.
So hopefully this is appropriate to @insmouth_tide because he loves our comic book reviews. He specifically is like, he tunes in for the comic book stuff. So this is based on a comic?
This is a comic movie.
More or less. Like that's kind of where we're going to go into with the story for Death of Superman, which someone asked, I think it might have been you, where they're like, didn't we do this before? And we sort of did. There was a previous animated movie which was pretty much the Death of Superman. Now the difference here is that this is the in-current continuity for animated movies mixed in with the classic story that many people, millions of people bought back in the 90s.
We do also have the New 52 designs.
Correct.
For all the characters.
So the red trunks aren't back on Superman. So one thing I do want to see in the animated movies, because now that does look a little bit odd, is I want to see the red trunks come back. I want to see the DC Rebirth kind of make its own way into the animated movies. Now, what this does is it takes the story that, again, many people read, and it merges it with the previous movies that had been established, such as Damian Wayne exists in the Death of Superman storyline now.
Right.
And we also have Wonder Woman play a much bigger role in this, whereas before in the comics, there were many characters that did not show up in this movie that played a role in fighting Doomsday. And it wasn't quite like what we saw in the movie where it's like, oh, he's in the city and now all these people. No, there were different issues in which even Superman as well was teaming up with these different characters to try to stop Doomsday. One of the cool things that I did like is they had an inspired suit of the original suit from Doomsday. And I remember listening to Word Balloon that said the only reason they put him in that like weird green suit where you didn't see what he actually looks like is because they hadn't yet come to an agreement on what the creature should look like. Some people wanted it to be more Kryptonian. Some wanted it to be like this monster that is Doomsday. So eventually they're like, all right, once they decided, boom, you see a fucking suit break off. So that's kind of that's the fun fucking part of comics, right? I love that shit. And what'd you think of the story itself, in which it is the story of Superman really coming out to Lois Lane as Superman?
You know, I really enjoyed it. I thought that, and again, it's kind of a retelling of a story that we already had, but it was really interesting to me because in all the movies we've seen recently, Lois already knows who Superman is. You know, and everything she already knows, or even in the live action movie, she figures it out. Like, you know, she's not stupid. She just figures this shit out. But this, she really had no clue. And you can see, even from the first scene they're in together, how much he cares about her. And of course, I was making all the jokes of, oh, he really loves, he really loves Batman.
Of course,
because Superman loves Batman. He does.
It's common knowledge.
He does. But he even asked the Justice League for help, and I always love when the Justice League gets together, especially when Flash is there, because he always says something and the Batman gets pissed off, and you had those moments as well, but I teared up like in the end. So long story short,
I was like, I kind of peeked over at you. I was like, holy shit, she's crying.
you weren't sad? It was
I don't think
so
she cried
sad.
in BVS.
I probably did. I don't remember.
Was it the fact that Lois Lane threw the rock and she knew she probably would have died?
She knew she was gonna die. Like the last thing he pretty
Spoilers.
much. Well, sorry,
it's the death of Superman.
Yeah,
guys.
it's a spoiler-filled review. So the last thing he says to her essentially is, BT Dubs, I love you, and then she realizes that she loves him too. And, they have that small little moment where she's like, you can't do this, it's suicide. And he's like, but you're here on a helicopter, like you're doing the same shit. And he flies away. And then I was like, oh no. And then he's about to kill Superman. And Lois is just like, I'm going to fucking die. But like, I love this man. He's going to die too.
Of useless rock, because that Doomsday's programming is just whatever's attacking him, no matter how little it is, he will destroy that thing.
Right.
It's an evolutionary thing that, as far as I'm concerned, that's how Doomsday was over and over the perfect type of predator, I guess.
Of course. So she throws this rock and like he turns to her now. He's leaving Superman alone. He's like, walking towards her, and she's like, hey Clark, I got your note, and like he's coming,
and I love you too,
and
right?
He's got this thing. I'm making it dramatic because it was great. And he's pushing out his claw hand, like he's got fucking razor blade.
He's Baraka apparently,
whatever, and he's walking and he's like, and I love you too. And that's when Superman's like, oh fuck,
motherfucking shit, I'm fucking with you.
He turns Super Saiyan and he goes after him, but of course he dies in the process. And then she starts sobbing, and then I'm sobbing. But then Jimmy got that perfect shot that we saw on all the televisions, and I'm like, Jimmy Olsen, you are nowhere near that shit.
You're not black.
Whatever.
What's going on? Yeah, it's. I think that scene got more. The one scene that got more to me, it wasn't the death. I was like, all right, whatever. Like they kind of BVS'd it. They BVS'd this shit, and I was like, eh. So overall, like all of Twitter was saying, like, no, this is actually really fucking good. And I was like, all right, this is the one we're gonna rent, and we did. And I was like, oh man, I should have seen Godzilla 2 instead. And so I didn't like it as much. Like it didn't get me.
But the scene that got to you,
as far as the story, but the scene that got to me was, fucking Popeye, the sailor.
What?
The sailor.
Really?
Yeah, the sailor. When he's, and I'm not religious, but when he is talking to his God and he's saying that, why does someone like Superman have to die and a wash up like me lives? Like that was, I'm like, that's Peter J. Tomasi right fucking there. That is Peter J. Tomasi.
Well, you know what other part got to me too is when they're all at Superman's funeral and Superman's parents are standing right outside.
And the cop tells him, like step back.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry, ma'am, only like certain people. And I'm just like, shit, the mom can't even be at her own son's funeral. Like,
she can't say I'm his mom.
Where's the Justice League fucking stepping in on this stuff? But then his dad wasn't even crying, and I'm like, get out of here.
See, and that's where, like me, I don't know if that, I'm not an animation director, but that's what I've been like, we're going to spend 5 minutes on the fucking Kens crying at this goddamn funeral. This is where the film really shines. They should have done that shit. Like that scene was nice, but that only sparked of like, this should have been like a moment of her saying, I'm his goddamn, and then like maybe Pa Kent, as he's also weeping, and that's what breaks him down. Holds her, and that's when she also realizes, like, we can't reveal that we are his actual parents. Like that, and then another Justice, you cut to then, another Justice League member also stepping forward, and Batman puts his hand out, or someone else puts his hand out.
No, because Batman was at home.
Right, Batman's gone. Some other Justice League member, Martian Manhunter, puts his fucking hand out and stops them. Like, that's the fucking shit you do at a goddamn funeral. But I'm not a fucking goddamn animation director, so fuck myself. I don't fucking care.
I enjoyed the movie. I'm sorry you didn't.
That's my main beef with the story, like, and maybe it's because I'm conditioned to Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I would have been like, Batman doesn't believe that Superman's dead, and they kind of sloppied it up at the end. Like,
right,
yeah, we had
the
Supermen that showed up, like in the Death of Superman in the comics. It's like, okay, yeah, there's Superboy, and then we have Cyber Superman, and then we have, but in this one, it's like, oh, and there's Superman right fucking there. It's like, no, give me blue Superman, like, give me the fucking blue comic Superman, the electricity Superman, and his mullet wasn't even in this fucking movie. He should have grown his goddamn hair because he was trying to impress Batman. That's the whole fucking thing. We normally, when we talk about movies, we do go into the acting, the directing, and the special effects. I'm going to lump that up with this animated movie here. One, to not keep this podcast too long before we get into the interview, but also, I mean, obviously the voice actors, they're not.
It's not
to me,
Kevin
it didn't
Conroy.
shine either. Like,
He was
it's not the
sick.
original Superman. It's not Kevin Conroy. And Martian Manhunter didn't sound like the Martian Manhunter that I thought. Like,
Except when he went, "Wah!"
he fucking burned up in the goddamn fire. It's like, get out of there. Fucking fly out of
Oh,
there, you fucking guys.
I will say, though, that Batman, the one thing they did get right,
yeah, you're right.
is that Batman lasted longer than any of the other fucking Justice League against Doomsday.
He really did. Probably longer than Superman. Clearly longer than Superman, actually.
Of course.
I like that Cyborg somehow lost his fucking arm, lost his eye, it's hanging off the socket, lost his leg. Flash and Hawkman are knocked out. Batman crushes his fucking arm back into socket, his broken ass arm, and he's still throwing fucking bombs at Doomsday. I'm
Hell
like,
yeah,
well,
he
yeah.
is. His bombs like fucking took out his suit. None of the other Justice League members.
Right, all the fucking punches.
Nothing damaged his suit. Even Green Lantern didn't stand a chance.
Flash had the Hawkman scythe or whatever the fucking thing is, and fucking slams him multiple times on his suit, and it doesn't do shit. Batman throws 3 fucking bombs, and that fucking damages him more than anyone else. Beautiful.
That was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, like you're right. That was. It's like, all right, they wrote that well, and they tried to like give Wonder Woman the spotlight a little bit, like she's taking him on by herself. It's like, no, Batman fucking kicked his ass way earlier.
Yep.
Like he was hiding off in the fucking buildings, throwing bombs at him. It's like, yes, that's what you fucking do to Doomsday's dumbass.
Perfect.
No one tried to kick him in the balls. No one tried to punch him up the asshole or anything. They should have tried that shit. It's not Kevin Conroy. It'll do type of thing. Like
Right.
that's how I'll pronounce where I'll settle for the acting. The animation wasn't great.
No,
I don't know if
it
you
really
felt the same.
wasn't.
Very stiff.
The thing that bothered me was the character designs, because Superman had like no neck,
Mm-hmm.
and then Lex Luthor just had his regular suit.
I hated his voice,
But
by
yeah,
the way.
Yeah.
Like I wanted a deep fucking voice, like in the Justice League. Like he is alpha male,
Well,
right?
And he is, but I still don't like the way they portrayed him. Like he was too much of an asshole, I guess.
Yeah, like your daughter's gonna get the cure now,
Right.
And
Well,
I'm gonna save
but
the
then,
day.
like,
No,
he hired all these people, and he was still going behind him like, you're a fucking idiot. And you're like, Lex Luthor wouldn't hire these fucking idiots.
Yeah, and he's like, you're fired. It's like, this is stupid. Like, this is not what Lex Luthor is. We see him in the comics, and he lets them do their thing, but he's also doing his own actual thing. Like, he knows that he's hired, like you said, he's hired people that have been working towards his goal, and then he carries his own shit out. That is Lex Luthor. He's not being some petty fucking guy. Like, I don't know. I didn't get that either. Like, that's some poor writing from that. And I don't know. Maybe I give too much credit to Luthor, but that's my Luthor. And that's what I grew up with. Like, even All-Star Superman, Justice League Unlimited. In Justice League Unlimited, he teamed up with Brainiac. And they fucking went to the edge of the universe at one point. This is Lex Luthor, not this fucking petty-ass guy. But I don't know. Like, if that's what you want to do, then so be it. Yeah, overall, I think you liked it more than I did.
Probably.
We'll see the next one for sure, probably on the DC app. Our next goal is the next episode of Godzilla on Netflix.
Yes! We have a lot of things on our list. But that's next, where he falls in love with the Aborigines.
That's maybe.
He will, I promise.
That's our movie review for Death of Superman. We're going to lead into the interview with Jon Sommariva. Because we hadn't talked about Batman TMNT Adventures since we reviewed that first issue. We might have, but it's been a few years. What'd you think of now, Papa Kelly, in the future? You've had all 6 issues. It used to be 5, and then they gave us the extra one. How do you feel about Jon Sommariva's and the rest, the Batman TMNT Adventures?
I loved Batman TMNT Adventures. Of course, Batman Adventures is animated series, one of our favorite things. TMNT on Nickelodeon.
Yes.
Another one of our favorite things. It was really...
The previous show, right.
Yes. That was really where my real first experience with the Turtles. And obviously our son's name is Leonardo, which is after the Turtles. So clearly, we liked it. So I really enjoyed this series. It felt like it was right out of Batman, the animated series, and just kind of continued where it picked up. Everything was spot on. I really enjoyed the whole run.
How about the art style of bringing back the animated series after it had been off the air for so many years?
It was still great. Again, it felt like it was just a continuation right out of where it was, and he made it fit really well together. The two different franchises.
That's one of the things. Like, you have 3D animation,
right,
and then you have 2D, and it works.
It worked so well.
So without further ado, because the Emperor, we have a child. We have a child! Again, I'll never forget that in Titanic. Was taking care of little Leonardo. We have the interview with myself and Jon Sommariva. This is where the Emperor bids her farewell.
Goodbye, Broquettes. I will see you next week. All will be well.
Onward with the interview. We hope you enjoy right here on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. And welcome, Brocat Core, to the interview portion of today's episode. You have heard us review Batman TMNT Adventures #1 a couple of years back when it released. We were looking forward to it back when they first solicited the issues in the previews catalog. We talked about it. We immediately added it to our sub. At this point, the trade paperback has been collected with all 6 issues as available at your local comic book shop and also online. And today we have not only the penciler to Batman TMNT Adventures, but also the penciler to Star Wars Adventures, TMNT Amazing Adventures, and many, many more comics and more, as we'll learn today. And today we have Jon Sommariva on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Yay. Thank you very much for having me on.
I understand that as we were talking a little bit earlier, you are running on very little sleep, as the Emperor Kelli and I do on a regular, so we're more or less on the same boat here.
That's right, the tight parent schedule, but it's all good. It's all good, you know. We're gonna get through it, and we're happy that we have our little bundles of joy in our life. So it gives us energy, right?
Among other things, bodily fluids.
Yes, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
don't need to go down that path too much, but
so, Jon, when I reached out, Batman TMNT Adventures with the recent Batman the Animated Series on Blu-ray on DC Universe's app that just got announced, it seems like Batman the Animated Series is in the forefront of people's minds more than ever. The Batman TMNT Adventures once again spiked at my local comic shop that I work at, and that's because, again, Batman TMNT Adventures, Batman the Animated Series is it's forever hot, but it's like really out there right now with all of the upcoming things. And I definitely wanted to have you on because it's not something that I felt the Emperor and I discussed enough on the podcast, which with each issue as it released. And I'm really happy that you were able to join us. Before we head into Batman TMNT Adventures and the rest of the projects that you have taken on over the years, let's go back to the beginning of when did you decide I want to be a penciler, I want to work in comic books for the rest of my life?
Well, the decision was made at 15 years old. So I do remember making a very conscious decision at a certain point, and it was when a friend of mine had shown me some Jim Lee X-Men cards. And I just fell in love with the artwork and discovered American comic books. And I decided at that point, this is what I want to do for a living. And I gave myself a goal. Somehow at 15 years old, I just had it in the presence of mind to say, I want to make it in 10 years. And if I don't make it in 10 years, then I'm going to go do something else. I'm just not good enough, I guess. And I guess the good thing is I made it in 9 years. So here we are.
Yeah, that's amazing. Not a lot of people get to realize that dream and do it in such a big way as you have, Jon. You see a lot of people, we go to conventions all the time, and there's a lot of local artists and a lot of artists that travel in different shows that are trying to get their foot in the door. So it's great that you were able to get there, and you have been able to work on so many of the things that we grew up on, but also original content as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just like anybody else that attends conventions and used to. I mean, I grew up on all this stuff when I was a kid too. The Turtles and the Batman animated series, and especially Star Wars as well. These are all things that I've been a huge fan of my whole life. So, it's such an awesome thing for me to be able to spend so much time with those characters and in those worlds, and be able to contribute, to that fandom. I feel very lucky to be able to do that in life, and call that my job.
One of the themes that we have noticed with a lot of the different artists that we've had on the podcast in the past is Jim Lee's X-Men has been such an inspiration for so many artists. Is that did you try to emulate a lot of the artists of the 90s as you were developing your own style, or did that just kind of ignite the spark that then kind of forced you to do your own thing with your development?
Yeah, no, I definitely was one of those kids that was sitting there with a lot of the Image comic book stuff. So, by the time I was 15, the X-Men stuff wasn't exactly current. It was kind of Image Comics was already out, and in fact, when I went to the comic store for the first time, I believe one of the first books that I put on my pull list was Spawn, and it was already up to Spawn issue number 10. So I had to go back and hunt down all these back issues. They were going for crazy prices, so I'd go and find, ripped up and tattered copies so that I could just have them to read. But yeah, a lot of those guys, McFarlane, Eric Larson, even Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, like all those guys, I used to love copying their art and looking at what they used to do. Many others as well, many other comic book artists. Arthur Adams, he was a big one as well.
Have you had
sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say they were the ones that really inspired me. No, that's about it.
Yeah, and just so the Brocat Core knows, there's a little bit of a delay here from the U.S. and Australia, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So a tiny bit of a delay, but we're getting there, and that's what editing is for as well. Have you gotten a chance to meet a lot of these pencilers and artists that inspired you when you were younger, and kind of had the chance to tell them that they were such inspirations for you as a comic reader and then later on as an artist?
I have met several of them, actually. In fact, all the guys I just mentioned I have met at one point or another. And I kind of, those guys are sort of in a bit more of a legendary category in a way, I suppose, where I'm always going to feel like a sort of a snot-nosed kid fan type guy, going up to them and having a chat with them, I suppose. But, I think Jim Lee he's such a huge part of the comic book industry. I don't think many people have gone without bumping into him or meeting him at some point in their career, I suppose. But I remember very early on, back in the day, I was living in America for a little while and had a studio set up there with a couple of other guys. And just so happened we were in Chicago one time, and we met up with Gareb Shamus, who was the president of Wizard magazine at the time, and he was with Jim Lee, and we all went out to lunch together. So that was really cool to be able to have that experience in life, and I was able to have just a normal, personal type chat with him. And I tried not to geek out too much at the time.
Yeah, that's difficult to do, but Jim Lee is the couple of times that we've been able to meet him, he's just been the nicest guy, and seems to be also on his various streams that he works on. When you finally did get, you made that decision, you started crafting your own style and decided you're going to work in comics. Were comics your first foot in the door right away, or did you have to do some commercial work first before you got your own independent or regular project from one of the big two or even some of the bigger independent companies?
Well, really, I've been drawing comic book style stuff since I was about 12 years old, so it goes back even further before I even really knew what comic books were or the superhero type stuff. I draw a lot of Mario versus Sonic comics, I was really into my Nintendo and all that sort of stuff, so I have a whole collection of them, as well as, my own little characters that I'd created. Sorry, I lost my place there. What was the question again?
No, I was just saying that which was your big project, your foot in the door to the rest of the the comics world? Because as an artist, I've heard a lot of artists say that it's forever working towards that next gig, but once they have their foot in the door and then they have that long year contract or at least multi-issue contract, that's when they can breathe a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So I still to this day sometimes I'm not sure if I've actually broken into the industry. I think this is a sort of a common feeling. You just because you like you say, you're working gig to gig, and you just nothing's ever guaranteed. There's always a lot of hey, you'd be great for this project or that project, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, so I guess to start with, so I was probably about 21 years old when I finished school, my tertiary education, all that sort of stuff. And straight away I got into a creative job. It wasn't what I wanted to be doing, which is drawing comic books, but it was very related because I was a 3D animator. So I was working for a media house. We were doing a lot of TV commercials and, ads for TV, as well as educational videos for kids, that sort of thing. So I feel like that really did help me hone my craft as well. It was a creative job and working professionally, and as soon as you're out of school, that first week on a job, you learn more than you probably did in the last 3 years.
Absolutely.
Because it's trial by fire. You're right there. The deadline's real. The job has to get done, and you're getting paid money for it. So busy for about 3 years, and during that whole time, I was there daydreaming about getting the job in comic books, and I'd be very present on different web forums. I discovered the comic forums where people were sharing their artwork and that sort of thing. And that's where I met a lot of other comic book artists and people that were sort of up and coming and who are today some of the big names that you'd probably recognize. We were all there plugging away, and then finally I got my opportunity. The right person saw my artwork that I'd put online and offered me a job. And it's been pretty steady from there. I do feel like in the beginning it kind of came a little bit too easily for me. So I sort of took it for granted a little bit, and I didn't realize that how much work it actually takes to stay in there. Like we were saying before, it's not just to get in the door, but actually to stay in the door. That's the real job. That's where the real task begins.
Yeah, and even some of the artists that you see working for the big two, they, sometimes you'll see them on a full run, and then you won't see them for a while, and then they're online doing commissions. So I'm sure a lot of even the artists that have been on a book for several years eventually have to get back on there and try to get on that next multi-issue project. I saw that one of your earlier works was Gemini. Was that a collaboration as a creator-owned type of work, or is that something that you were brought on for?
No. That was a collaboration. That was a creator-owned, something that I always want to do and that I actually still want to do and am actually doing right now. So
oh, nice.
It was my very first gig was Jay Ferber. So with Jay Ferber, so he was someone that he was one of these people that I'm talking about that saw my work for the online and reached out to me and offered me my first job. So when the time came that I had just finished working on Go Boy 7 for Dark Horse Comics, and I was thinking about what I want to do next. And with Go Boy 7, there was a lot of characters to draw on every page. So I just really wanted to draw the single hero type comic book, like your classic Marvel Iron Man or Captain America, where they've got their own sort of title. So I reached out to Jay. I said, this is what I'm interested in doing. And he wrote back and was like, yeah, I'm super keen to do a superhero type book as well. So he already had this sort of idea brewing in the back of his mind, and he said, what do you think about this? And I was like, yep, that sounds awesome, great. And just like that, we were again very lucky. Just approached Image Comics and said, we want to do this book, and they were like, yep, go for it. We'll publish it. And that was before nothing had even been drawn or anything. It was, we just basically got a green light just to go ahead and do what we wanted to do. And so yeah, it was a very, very fun project. It was a massive learning experience for me. I made a lot of the rookie errors that you make, when you first get into comics, where your expectations are super high. You really believe that your comic is going to be the next, I don't know, Spider-Man, and just melt everyone's brains and everyone's going to be buying it. And then, the reality of it comes out, and that can sort of knock the wind out of your sails a little bit. And that's where the true professional will just soldier on and just get the thing done, put it out there, finish the story. Whereas for me, I let it affect me a lot, and I kind of panicked a little bit, and I was thinking, I've got to work on, I've got to get some jobs where I can actually get paid, and it kind of wasn't great for that project, So it spanned many years, because I would sort of drop in and out of Gemini, and I don't think that was a really good look for the book overall. So I really appreciate the people that stuck with it through to the end, because there was big gaps in between. And we did finally get a trade out there, which is great. That came out in 2000, right at the end of that year. And, it's a book that I still carry around with me at shows, and I'm very proud to people. And I think anyone who reads it, it's a fun little story.
You had mentioned that you're currently working on Gemini. Is that something that has not yet been solicited, or just kind of in the back of your mind?
Oh, no. I meant I'm doing another creator-owned, actually.
Oh, I got you.
Gemini is done for now. Yeah. It's so the new thing is, I mean, we're just pitching something. So hopefully that'll be a project that I'll be talking about in the near future.
Very good. Awesome. And then a couple of the actual movie-based project, television-based projects. So one of the bigger ones has been Star Wars Adventures, not only for fans of the, people that grew up in the 70s with Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy, but also with a lot of kids. I'm finding that I sell Star Wars Adventures to many, many kids because the Marvel book is a little bit too dark or a little bit too complex for some of the younger readers, but Adventures is a lot more accessible to all ages, which is great. What has it been like working, for example, as a difference on Gemini, something that is creator owned, and then something that you have to kind of follow certain guidelines when you are creating this, helping create this comic?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the great thing about working with IDW is they are very open to different styles. Like they sort of really trust you as an artist and let you do your thing. There's a lot of breathing room there. Then there are certain things that Lucasfilm will actually get a little bit picky about, certain likenesses of characters and certain little details, and that's where the challenge comes in. It's not when it's not as hardcore as you might think. I think so, which is great, because for me, I love Star Wars so much, and there was a comic book that came out a few years ago, actually maybe 10 years ago, and it was a Dark Horse Star Wars comic, and it was called the Yavin Vasilika or something like that. I can't remember. How you see a name and you can read it in your mind, but then when you say it out loud, it sounds weird. And so, yeah, this book was it was actually illustrated by Carlos Meglia, who was a huge influence on me and a great artist whose work I really admire. What I loved about it the most was that they just went all out. There was no sticking to any strict styles or anything like that. It just had this really funky, cartoony, crazy style that I really sings to me. So when the Star Wars comics were announced, and I knew that Marvel was doing them, I was thinking, it'd be so great if they let some of these guys who have some really great styles work on the Star Wars stuff. And some of the guys that have worked on it have been really amazing. They've done some great work, but it's you can see that there's a lot of, it seems like there's a direction in really focusing on the likenesses of the actors and that sort of thing. So it seems like a lot of people are maybe tracing photos and that sort of stuff, which to me kind of, I don't know, defeats the purpose of comic book art, exactly what I like to see, I suppose. So when IDW announced that they were going to be doing the Adventures books, I was like, yes, finally we can really sink our teeth into some more stylized Star Wars stuff, and it's worked out that way. I think they've really done some cool stuff as far as that goes.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I'm glad you brought that up, where sometimes I will notice a cover or even some of the interior work, and it does feel like maybe there were some screenshots taken, and then I'm like, all right, that's a good still. Let's use that for this panel. And I'm always curious as to where kind of that lies, as far as maybe a fan might recognize it, like that's from that scene in that movie, and now it's in this original comic. So,
yeah, you just got to go through the movies frame by frame, and I'm sure you could pick out a few winners here and there.
Has it been very similar then, since it is IDW working on TMNT Adventures when you did do work on that book?
Yeah, it was a similar type of experience. The thing is, so in that case we have Nickelodeon, and there's a person there that will make sure that everything is on model and look right. So they do send out style guides and that sort of thing. And for me, I find that very stifling to my work. I struggle with that, because it just kind of gets in your head and you're there going, this isn't how I draw. And so there was a point where when I was given my first assignment, I just thought, I'm just going to go and do my own thing. I'm just going to draw this the way that I want to see it drawn. And I'll stick within their guides. I'll use it as a guideline, not as a strict rule book, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
And so I did that, send it off. There was a little bit of back and forth. The faces have to look a bit more like this, so I just made sure that I was drawing the actual Ninja Turtle characters from the Nickelodeon TV show. And aside from that, it was literally just changing a little bit of the features in the face. And once I nailed that, once I understood that, it was just go to town from that point on. You know, to the point where they really you know, let me just do my thing, I suppose. And I'd heard that they had asked other artists to kind of try and do something similar to what I was doing.
That's
I don't want to sound too.
No, that's really funny because as you were trying to kind of like, you know what, I'm going to break through this, and if they say something, oh well, and then you went for it, and instead they're like, yeah, just change these little things, and you kind of got to push your preferred style through while still like, you know, it's kind of like it's more than even the happy medium where it sounded like they weren't giving too much pushback as far as your particular style.
Yeah, no, I was really given a lot of freedom, I feel, and it made the job all the more enjoyable, which I think shows through in the artwork. You know, if the artist is really enjoying themselves, you're going to get a better result at the end of the day.
And I'm guessing that the same type of trust also went through into Batman TMNT Adventures, or was that a little bit more complex since you were now involved with also DC Comics?
No, absolutely. I took the exact same mentality into it. What I did for that series was I really did a lot of studying up on Bruce Timm, of course, because his style was just such a massive part of that TV show and the success of it, I believe. And so, you know, I did my homework. I found as much material as I could online, aside from watching an episode or two here and there, and probably watched that theme intro about 1 million times and had the theme song playing in my head the whole time for about 6 months. So that was good. And just made sure that I captured, again, it was using the guidelines, you know, so there's certain little rules. For example, the way that the little fins on the side of Batman's glove, they taper out at a certain angle, and how many of them there are, and that sort of thing. I think those rules are important. So I was really just capturing the essence of that style, the Bruce Timm animated style, and then somehow found a middle ground in between that style and then what I was doing with the Turtles, and somehow it just all worked and fit together. I don't know. It feels like I did a lot more, but really it was just me just trying to draw as naturally as possible.
Yeah, even I, as a huge fan of Batman the Animated Series, I was going to say that like it does seem like your style was, you lent yourself even more to the characters, because you couldn't really, like, you look at the 6 issues of Batman TMNT Adventures, and it's done in such a way where it does feel like you have your own take on some of these characters while still staying true to the animated series, and so much so that I can't pinpoint it and be like, oh, that's in between seasons 3 and 4, of course. Like, it's like, no, some of these character designs, like the Joker, could be taken like from the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited designs, not necessarily season 4, and it just feels like everything is fluid and works especially well with the Nickelodeon TMNT, which again is probably a little bit risky if you're trying to do like a cartoon special, but that's the beauty of comics, in that you can have these, you know, 3D animated cartoons meet up with what I'm used to, which is the 2D hand-drawn animated stuff. Yeah.
Well, it was just about finding that middle ground, I suppose, and like you said, I just picked the versions of the characters, particularly with the Bat stuff. I picked the versions that I really enjoyed, that I liked when I was a kid. So, you know, that particular version of Scarecrow, the Joker was, like you said, you know, he was a bit of a hodgepodge of the different elements that I liked from different designs, I suppose, and sort of mix those together. I would say that the one where I sort of failed a little bit at the beginning and I had to find my feet was with Robin, because I always really liked the Tim Drake younger kid sort of version of Robin, and I was trying to squeeze that into the Dick Grayson version, which appeared in the original Batman TV series. And then it wasn't until later where I realized, so Robin's actually supposed to be a little bit bigger. He becomes Nightwing, you know, that sort of thing. And I think sort of by around issue 3, maybe I really kind of, you know, got the hang of him.
Robin gained another 2 feet.
Yeah, and became a little bit bulkier, you know. Hey, I love telling people how crap I am, you know. So.
I'll tell you, I didn't notice as I was reading it. I was just like, oh, Batman and Robin, yes!
Erases everything I just said from your memory banks.
Edit it out. One of my favorite moments in the 6-issue run, and I do want to ask about that number, 6 issues, because that wasn't always the number, is that scene
Dun, dun, dun.
of Mikey doing the opening to Batman the Animated Series, and seeing as how it was stuck in your head, there's no way you couldn't not put it in the comic. Was that a decision that you made as well as the rest of the team, or was that already written in the script and you're like, oh, this is perfect?
No, that was definitely Matt's writing. You know, he gets full credit for that. He came up with that idea to have the title sequence in there. The only thing a little contribution I had was that he had emailed me and said, do you mind if I put like 8 panels on each page for this thing? And I was like, no, man, go for it. Whatever's going to work for the story, we'll make it fit and we'll make it work. And, we just broke that down. We boiled it down to its most iconic, sort of, essence, like the shots that really we remember from, that will give you the biggest nostalgia hit possible, and went for it, and it turned out to be probably one of the most memorable and popular sequences that happen in that book. I think that personifies what that whole series was about, just this love letter to those two franchises, and particularly bringing Batman the Animated Series back into comic book form, and just really celebrating that, and remembering everything that we love about it without making it so obvious that it's a love letter. It also was its own adventure, I believe, and its own self-contained story.
The Batman TMNT Adventures, when it was first solicited, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I was it originally 4 or 5 issues and then it got extended?
Yeah, so it was 5 issues. It was always intended as a 5-issue series. And then as the first issue came out and it was hugely successful, the numbers were great. I think we were doing a great job. IDW was very happy with us, and DC was happy with us. So, they extended it to 6 issues. So Matt just came up with the idea of basically doing a prologue, and during the whole. Hopefully, this isn't a spoiler for any of your listeners that haven't read this, but during the whole series, we're kind of teasing that the Krang are responsible for what's going on. And then, of course, someone else is revealed to be the big, true mastermind. So we thought we'll take that idea that, we're teasing, kind of do a real switch, and so have it right at the end, that the Krang really did have something to do with it, after all.
I remember specifically tweeting you, and I think it's because, one, we're following you, but you're also pretty active on Twitter. And I said, can you guys, and I tagged IDW, can you guys just make this an ongoing? And like, if we're going to be extending issues, let's just keep this thing going. Just one-up them. Can you just re-up them for a few years of this?
Look, Matt and I would have been absolutely more than happy to do more of it. We had so much fun working on this, and but I think, there's obviously a lot of licensing agreements and all that sort of thing that goes on between IDW and DC and that sort of thing behind the scenes. And unfortunately, the Nickelodeon version of the Ninja Turtles has ended now, and there's a new version. So there's really no chance that this particular series would ever continue, because, you would never say never, I guess, but I would say it's very, very small chance that would ever happen. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a different take on this happening again in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps, who knows? I don't have any inside info there or anything like that, but it would kind of make sense, because with DC they've had a chance at doing their version of the Batman TMNT twice now, so anything's possible.
Yeah, that's the one difference with the current TMNT, is that IDW, I'm assuming they want to build up that brand along with Nickelodeon of, okay, these are the new Turtles now. This is what we're going to show everyone. So it probably will be, if the previous one gets revisited, it won't be for another couple of years. That's the only thing that kind of gave me some hope, is the fact that it was like, yeah, but Batman the Animated Series also hasn't been on for a few years, but they're also not trying to push a current cartoon right now.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why I'm saying you can never say never, I suppose. But
and comic books hasn't been the only thing that you've had the pleasure of working on. Wolverblade on the Nintendo Switch. I was watching several gameplay videos for this, and it's like your artwork come to life. Well, what's going on with this game? It came out last year, right?
Yeah, it did. So this was a guy over in the UK. He's really into his history, from of their country, and they've got a lot of history. Obviously, it's one of the oldest places, and they have this whole history with the Romans and how they battled them out of Britain and all that sort of thing. And I don't know too much about it myself, actually, being from Australia, but what I do know is from the game, what I worked on. But yeah, this guy, he just had the dream and the goal to make his own game and make it a reality. And so he invested his time and funds and all that sort of stuff, and just made this thing come to life. And I mean, that's an amazing achievement, really, because the game has come out on Xbox and PS4 and, on Switch, like you said. It's also on PC and on Steam, I should say. Yeah, it was just a great project to work on. A lot of fun. I got to draw. I did all the title artwork and the cutscene artwork, so everything, all the story stuff that appears in between. And it's just really cool to see my artwork animated and with a really, all these professional voiceover actors and that sort of thing, finishing it off and just giving it that final bit of polish. And yeah, it was definitely a pleasure to work on, a lot of fun, and it's just great to see my artwork out there in a completely different form than what I'm used to seeing.
Has there been a huge difference as far as deadlines and workload when you have worked on something like Wolverblade as opposed to a monthly series?
Yeah, look, in my experience, there's nothing that compares to working on a monthly. That's the real trial by fire, the thing that separates the men from the babies, I guess. I don't know. Is that too sexist to say in this day and age in 2018?
Not on this show, but everywhere else, yes.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, to separate the adults from the children, we'll see. How about that?
Men from the babies, go ahead.
Stage.
You're good.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the schedule was we had deadlines and that sort of thing, but it was definitely a lot more relaxed than what I'm used to with comic book stuff. So we got to polish things and do as much as we had to do to make it look right.
I just imagine you on the first week of working on Wolverblade, and you're just ahead of schedule by 2 weeks, just because you're still used to that that pace.
It was a bit like that sometimes. Yeah.
Do you have any other gaming projects lined up, or are you currently taking commissions and doing maybe cover work back on the comic side?
Yeah, no, look, I after Wolverblade, I decided to really, really focus on my comic book work. And, I'm in the position where I'm lucky enough that I can sort of hold out for better projects to come along. So I've sort of been cherry picking, things that I really want to work on now, rather than taking whatever comes along, desperately and just trying to stay busy the whole time. So really, Star Wars Adventures is my most current thing that I'm working on. I'm currently still doing cover work. I've got a cover. A cover has just been solicited for issue 15 of Star Wars Adventures, and got some other stuff in the pipeline that it's always sort of happening. And even when I eventually do start working on this creator-owned series, I truly believe that we're going to make this book happen, but I will keep the foot in the door, so to say. With IDW, I really enjoy working with them. The guys are great; they treat me really well, and I'm very happy to keep working on covers with them and whatever little projects come along, that sort of thing. So I'm not 100%, ejecting myself from mainstream comics or anything like that.
That's great to hear about IDW, because from the retailer standpoint, they always are very good about returnability on their comics and treating the retailer right, which is good to hear that it's happening on the back end as well.
Excellent. Yeah. No, I one thing that I really love about them that I've noticed is they have a great attention to quality when it comes to the printing of the books and that sort of thing as well. So whenever I receive my copies, usually that's the moment of truth. There's been many times where I've received or I've gone into comic book shop and I've seen copies of my work, and I've just seen that it's printed really dark and muddy. And again, that's just another thing that you're just there going, I've put so much work into this, and then this is the piece of crap that ends up going out to the world, and it can be a little devastating sometimes, especially when you first start out. But with IDW, they have always just put out consistently, great quality. I love the paper stock that they choose. You'll notice that the covers on their trades never curl back or anything like that. They're always really nice and tight. And it's just a great way to see your work presented to the world, I suppose.
Before we started recording, you had mentioned that you had recently wrapped up, at least confirmed, conventions. Any Brocat Corps members that want to try to get maybe a print or a piece of artwork right now, are you currently taking any commissions or selling some of your artwork through your website?
Yeah, so I've got a Big Cartel website that I've been running for quite a few years now, and that's where that's sort of my online convention, I suppose, where I'm able to connect with fans and people that just really want to own a piece of artwork from me. And of course, I feel hugely honored and so happy that people support my work and are willing to spend their hard-earned cash on some of my scribbles, so that's always such a great thing. And so you can find that at jonsommariva.bigcartel.com. I've got art books on there and prints and, of course, original art, like you mentioned. I have recently put up a lot of the Batman TMNT originals. I've got a few of those up there for anyone interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah, the black and white pages are on there. They're inked. That's one of the great things about seeing artists that are still drawing on actual paper and not everything on the computer, which there's something to say about digital artwork, and there's ups and downs to each one. But the fact that, you can still draw a physical page and then from there share it or sell it to a really big fan of your work, it's just great to see that's still happening.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really interesting, actually. I'm right in the middle of a sort of crossroads here where I've been deciding whether to go fully digital or traditional. And my thinking is, you kind of weigh up the pros and cons. And so if I've got a really tight deadline and I'm in a pinch, going digital is just hands down so much faster than working traditionally. So I can actually work at double the speed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it does make a difference when you kind of weigh it up. But then with the traditional, there's just so much more that I can do. I have so much more control over really, the way that the artwork looks. I just feel a lot more confident, I suppose. It's something that I've been doing for so much longer. But there's also something about the way the paper catches your art utensils, the pencil, the brush. And of course, you've got your happy accidents when you don't have an undo button. So that'll kind of force you to maybe have a little bit more energy in your work. But I find with digital, you can stiffen up a little bit because you have that option to always go back and try again. So I don't know. Hopefully your listeners are interested in the ins and outs of art tools and
they
sort of
truly
thing.
are. No, and a lot of my listeners too are actually artists themselves that are not necessarily for comics, but they're going to school for it. And one of them is Robin. He's a Patreon backer for us. And even me, I used to draw when I grew up throughout high school, and then when college started, I completely stopped, and I shouldn't have. But I know exactly what you're talking about, where you can actually move the tool around, you can twist it, and the paper, the give, the push, it does make a difference, and you develop different techniques as you're holding a pencil or a pen against a sheet of paper. And I've tried to do the tablet thing, and it's never been quite the same, but I've also spent maybe a total of maybe a half hour in my lifetime ever actually drawing on a tablet. So I'm sure there's techniques on their own when you're actually drawing on a computer.
Yeah, so you can't say you've mastered it after half an hour. I'll just
not at all.
let you know.
I'm just like, this isn't pencil, and I gave up.
Yeah. I had several stops and starts myself, and then I finally went out and bought a Cintiq, like the big tablet, and it kind of sat there for about a year and a half in the studio, just sitting in the box, and I was like, one day I'll set it up, and then finally I did get around to it, and it's been great. It really has helped me bring a new angle to my game, I suppose. So, when I have those emergency situations, it's almost like cheating. It's this weird way of just going, okay, I need a little boost here on my Mario Kart mushroom just to get ahead a little bit, and so I just yep, go do a couple of pages digital. Unfortunately, there's no original link for those pages, but bang, you just get ahead and then you can get back on the train the way it should be.
And Jon, so once again, the original pages, if you want to check them out, there will be a link in today's show notes for the description. When you are ready to, you had mentioned that there's, even earlier that there's a creator-owned project that's coming up, hasn't been solicited yet, that you're currently working on. Whenever you are ready to announce it, whenever it is in the previews catalog, tweet it out, let us know, and be sure to retweet. Or if you ever want to come back on the show and talk about that original creator-owned work, a lot of the listeners get the previews catalog and swear by it as we do. So it'd be great for them to actually be able to flip through a certain page and say, yep, that's the one. Let's add it to our sub. As far as the Brocat Core, if they want to find you and contact you and maybe ask you some questions that we didn't ask on Batman TMNT Adventures, where can they find you?
So I'm across all the different social media platforms. Instagram is probably one of my biggest ones, where I've got a large following there, and I'm very active on it and interactive with the people that talk to me. I try to get back to everyone as much as possible. So that one you can find me at Sommariva, which is my last name, spelt Sommariva. And then on Twitter, as you said, I'm Jon Sommariva on there. I also have a Facebook page, an artist page, which is Red J Art. You can just put that into your Facebook search bar there, and I should pop up. You'll see a little Batman symbol there, and that's me.
And there will be, once again, links in today's show notes for today's episode. That's actually where I was like, oh, finally, yes, the commissions are back up. And or maybe I just hadn't come across some of the finished work. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's get a comic commission. And it worked out really well because I've yet to be able to come across you at a convention down here in Florida or Chicago, where I normally, travel to go to convention, C2E2,
right.
MegaCon. So it's great that I finally was able to get a piece from you, Jon. So thank you so much for taking commissions and also for accepting mine.
No, yeah, you're very welcome. I loved your choice. I hadn't got a chance to have fun with a Harley yet on one of those covers. You actually called me at the perfect time because I was working on a set, that had kind of been sitting there. So usually with those commissions, I'll take them and they sort of sit there and pile up, and then I find a day where I'm free and I'll try and get them all done in one go. So yours came in right at the right time where you got to slide right in there, and I got it done very quickly compared to other people who have had to wait a little bit longer. But
I'm shocked that I was the first Harley request. I figured this is going to be like his fifth Harley. I should have asked for a Talia al Ghul or something.
No, this time around for this round, the requests were, they were great. They were very obscure and other characters. I did a Clayface, a Two-Face. There was a Rocksteady and a Bebop, and Shredder, Splinter, these characters that don't usually get requested very much. It's usually all Turtles and Batman, but it's there, so I love that. Yeah, I really love drawing anything, so.
Yeah, I've got to ask you as an artist, because I've always wondered. I get several commissions throughout the year from the conventions that we go to. And sometimes if I ask for something that's a little too obscure, or maybe something that they've drawn once or twice, I've had one or two experiences where the artist kind of is like taken aback and they're like, no, choose something else. And I'm like, okay, I'll choose something that you've drawn a million times if that's what you prefer, but I never know what the right choice is. Maybe I should always have a 1, 2, and 3 option for him. I never know. So where do you come at that from as an artist?
Yeah, look, it's not bad to have a couple of ideas in mind overall. I very, very, very rarely have said that I couldn't do that because, I always have my phone with me, so I'm able to look up a reference, and I take that as a challenge, I think there are times with certain guys, maybe they're just so busy or totally swamped at a convention, maybe even feel a little uncomfortable because it's not our usual drawing environment. A lot of the time, something that I struggle with is contending with the lighting that we find in the convention halls. You get this sort of stadium lighting effect where you'll have like 4 or 5 shadows, all fanning out all over the artboard while you're drawing, and it's kind of hard to keep track of your lines sometimes and that sort of thing. Plus, obviously, the conversations and all that kind of stuff. So maybe there are guys that just prefer to draw something that they're very comfortable with, or that they've done a million times because you're just doing another one, and it's one that you can get done a lot quicker. So, but for me personally, I kind of enjoy the challenge. I don't love it so much when people come up with they ask for like a movie version of a certain character, especially some of these Marvel characters where the movie costumes just have so much more detail and
Right.
They're a lot more time consuming, I suppose, and so you kind of end up spending a lot more time on that sort of a commission. Whereas the stuff that I'm more comfortable with is obviously the classic comic book sort of versions of characters or the animated versions, that sort of stuff. And but really, I'm happy to draw whatever you like, especially if it's a at-home commission. That's really where something special happens. With commissions, it's our time where we get to explore a little bit, maybe try something different with the style. I feel like for me, with every piece of art I do, I want to push myself and do better than the last piece, and it's something that I want to be proud of. I want to be happy with what I'm sending out there to the world. Hopefully that results in the person who owns the commission, they're very happy with their piece, and on the other end I end up with a nice piece that I can sort of show off or put into a future art book, that sort of thing.
Well, I can't wait till we receive ours, and I can't wait to share it with the rest of the Brocat Core member. And honestly, Jon, thank you so much for taking the time for being on the show, for talking about Batman TMNT Adventures, and more importantly, working on this 6-issue miniseries that is not only going to be something that we can, forever share with younger readers, up-and-coming readers, but also with with Leonardo, my son, when he finally gets old enough to, flip through comics and really enjoy them. It's going to be one of the first books that I end up giving him, because naturally he's going to grow up on Batman the Animated Series. So as a dad and as a fan, I got to thank you, Jon.
No, my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been really great chatting to you and been having a chance to talk to your audience and that sort of thing. So, I'm just so glad to be able to connect with people that love this stuff as much as I do. And I think that's really awesome that your kid's named Leonardo. How cool is that?
Yes, after the turtle, not the artist.
Has he said his first superhero word yet?
He said mama, and his mom, my wife, is definitely a superhero of sorts. So,
oh, you are earning major brownie points there, my friend. Well done.
I've been married for a few years now.
You know the routine. I still haven't learned yet. I'm getting there.
So once again, thank you, Jon. And honestly, when you are ready for your next work, just let me know, and you're always welcomed on the show. My pleasure. I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys again. All right, Brocat Core, thank you so much for joining us on the interview for today. Again, you will find many links where you can contact Jon on today's show notes. I'm Daniel. And I'm Jon. And Brocat Core, all will be well. We'll see you next week. Okay.